Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Jesse, Brandon, welcome back. Happy to be with you.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Taking a couple of breaks recently.
Yeah. It's all right.
You know,
right.
we
Well
got
deserved.
Yeah, well deserved, and there'll be some cool stuff coming for sure in the next weeks. Getting ready to rock out on our next retreat here on April 19th, 18th.
April 18th.
April 18th for 9 days. We'll go with that.
18th for the 27th. Yeah, very good. Very good. Yeah.
So you guys are interested in checking out this area. I promise you, there is not a better nor value-packed nor more fun way to do it than our retreat. It's pretty affordable. It's a lot of fun. And when I say a lot of time and effort and care has gone into it, to make sure that the user experience is A+, and that you guys receive not only all the value, but also just really enjoy your time. It's there. So check out the reviews, sign up. We got all the links below.
Yeah, click the link in the description, the We Travel link. Don't take our word for it. Look at the reviews. Sign up. You'll enjoy yourself. We'd love to see you down here for it.
So we got that. We got some other cool content, and some, some changes, some interesting things on the horizon. Partly, that's why some of this, our weekly pods have been
Not weekly.
as of late. We do enjoy bringing this to you, and just speaking for myself, I've been kind of doing this in one form or another since the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, just sort of like trying to document this place and just help people do Ecuador successfully, help people understand this place from hopefully a very real, very genuine perspective. Partially because I was so shocked when I got here in 2013 of just how everything that I had read about this place, and there were no podcasts or anything back then, but like that I had read about Ecuador in general and Vilca specifically, were just not in line with my experience at all. Like I was lied to, for lack of, I'm joking, of course, but, so it's like, well, let's actually let people know what's here, for real. And so I enjoy that. And I think, we do our best to do that. And I've been doing that for a really long time. And so we've got some changes in the works. I think all that's really fun and exciting. And I'm really it's always exciting, new chapters and just, those kinds of things. But that being said, we do want to keep you guys informed and show this place as best we can. Again, just because it's, moving to a place like this and living here is just different. Like, it's just legitimately different. And
it's not for most, man.
It's not for most people. It's more of an adjustment probably than anyone realizes.
Yep.
Even for someone like me, who in certain ways is very flexible and like I can kind of handle anything in a certain way. Even for me, man, I thought at least business culture, for example, would be similar.
Nope.
Right? I thought, at least things like certain kinds of etiquette things, or, just sort of perspectives. Like Brandon, like if I say to you, and don't get personal on this, I'm just kidding, you're welcome to, but if I say to you, hey Brandon, I'll meet you Tuesday at 10 a.m. and I don't show up, it's pretty disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of f***ed up. Like, you might feel a way about it.
I do.
Yeah. Guess what? That doesn't mean
This is
that.
the third podcast I've done.
Guess what? In Ecuador, that's not disrespectful.
Right.
The guy didn't disrespect you. You feel disrespected because of where you come from. That's disrespectful.
Right.
In Ecuador, there's no disrespect.
I mean, formal business meetings are a little different in some ways.
Yeah, I'm completely exaggerating to make the point. Yes. I'm just saying that, like, the social norms, the cultural norms, the perspectives. We were talking a minute ago, I guess we'll maybe put at the end. We were talking a minute ago about just lost my train of thought. The social norms and perspectives. I'm forgetting, but the point I want to make anyway is that I remember. So we were talking about the I versus we.
Mm-hmm.
That colors everything. And where we come from, it's looked at as a good thing to be pretty I focused. There's nothing really thought of as negative about being driven and working hard and ambitious and providing and looking out for you and your family. And that's kind of here. That's like has negative connotations. Like here, no one is going to put something that's going on in their personal life or something in their business life ahead of the greater good, the family, the greater community, the person who needs help with something that they need. So just that alone, if you think about the way that affects all your interactions, all your decision making, all of your goals and your outcomes, and just that alone, just like rewiring the brain around that is a multi-year process, So anyway, ultimately at the end of the day, like for people like me and you and like people who this place works for, there's got to be a lot of deconditioning, a lot of deprogramming, I think, for this to work well.
Unwinding.
A major unwinding, a major sort of toning down of the nervous system and the energy and the like attitudes and all.
Expectation recalibration.
That's a big one. And it's like, it's sort of a tuning in, right? You got to tune into the land. You got to tune into the people. You got to kind of like say like, okay, I prefer this over that. And those are very different things. Right. Like when I go back to the States, I've lived here now for like 12 plus years or something. And I don't go back. I used to go back a lot. I go back now once or twice a year at the most. Sometimes I even have 2 years go by where I haven't been back. But when I go back now, there's some things that are so shocking in a good way that I am like, man, this is great. Like a U.S. supermarket, properly marked roads. Like, I mean, I drove back from Cuenca at night the other day, and the fog, there's a lot of fog and this and that. But I mean, you could hit a cow and die at any moment. You could drive off a cliff that's not very well marked at any moment. There could be a little piece of the road that's fallen into a gorge that you can't see at night. You go back to the States, if you just follow the road signs, you'll never have an accident, right? It's a different mentality. There's a lot of things, you can't, and for a lot of people, like to not have that stuff would be unlivable. To not have the convenience and the Amazon and the rules and the system and this is the way everything works and I can just rely on that. And I don't even have to care who you are behind the counter. You don't actually matter because there's rules in place and we're going to have a transaction and I know how it's going to go. You don't have any of that here. No. The person behind the counter matters because you're dealing with them, not any rules.
Yep. And even if there are rules,
they don't apply.
They don't apply. And even if they do apply, they might not apply if you have this relationship with this person, right? And then there's new rules. And I would say generally the main roads, although there are those things you have to be aware of, like you have to be a more conscious driver, without a doubt, in Ecuador. They're better than, the main roads are better than I thought. Like driving to Zamora, driving to Cuenca.
They're great.
Yeah, they're great. You do have
the whole country's roads at this point essentially are paved, which is nice. Yeah.
Like the main ones, Yeah, they're surprisingly good. But there's the, like we drove back from Zamora and there's, it's literally this the whole way, right? And
beautiful.
Oh, it is. It's awesome. Yeah, it's really enjoyable. But the buses, dude, it's literally a 90-degree turn, blind, and giant bus is passing blind 2 vehicles. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, this is a multi-fatality incident at any moment. And I mean, thank God nothing happened that point, but I'm like, this is crazy, man. Like some of the buses seemed like, it made me not want to ride the bus. I've heard great things about some of the night buses and some other things, but it made me not want to ride in the bus. Yeah. Because of them. Like, there's zero reason that I would think now's the time to pass 2 vehicles in a bus, in a giant commuter bus. Like, there's no reason to ever do that in a blind turn. There's nothing that would say, yes, this is the right decision. Zero, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of my driving experience comes from New York City. I'm a pretty aggressive person, sort of by nature, anyways. I certainly drive aggressively. Even with that background, the passing on the turns thing and some of the risks that are taken here, I would never take.
Dude,
and
no
like
way.
no one, like, I take way more risks than anyone else, and I would never take something.
Dude, it's wild. Like, I get like, oh, there's a car coming. I think I can get around them. These are blind turns that other people are driving similarly.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, right? We're talking about just options, choices in life decisions, right? So pros and cons, right? So it's like we're talking about some of that stuff. So then it's like, well, okay, well, why do I, for example, like, why do I choose here versus somewhere in the States that has way more conveniences? Things are way more orderly, way more, there's just a lot of benefits in those ways, right? If you want to call those benefits. Well, okay, well, okay, well, first of all, it's never cold here except for right now.
Dude, it's chilly right
Gotta
now.
be low 60s at least.
Oh, mid-60s. Yeah, mid-60s.
It's like freezing, but I got snot coming out of my nose. Not like the weather's amazing, and the abundance of fresh food, and it's all year round, and like there's a lot of air and water and blah blah blah. All
It's
stuff,
got a lot of rain.
all stuff we talked about, right? The soil and and so that stuff's great, but like, why do I actually live here? Well, so the capacity for connection and adventures in and just stuff having to do with nature here for me is it's unusual. It's not something I was used to in the States. Not that you can't do all kinds of, you certainly can, but there's just something about it here. There's something about the variety and the depth here that I think environment affects people, and I think partly that's kind of what we're looking at. It's like, we have people who are used to living amongst this, and they've kind of reflect that a bit. Whereas, where I come from, it's more like concrete and that sort of.
Nature is less commercial.
And less populated.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So that but then it's like it's what I actually like about this place for a lot of people would be cons, right? So it's like
right.
Yeah. So it's
For
like
most people.
maybe for most people, yeah. So it's the fact that all interactions are human. I love that. I love that because the way people don't understand necessarily what that means and how that filters through to all aspects of society and all transactions and just the way people think and the way it literally means asking for a favor here, for example, is not only normal, it's not even something anyone ever considers feeling bad about. Because everyone helps everyone.
Right.
So why, of course, no one would ever, there's no, like back home, it's like, I would never ask anyone, I would never ask. I felt like I'd never ask anyone for anything back home, ever.
Right.
Because I don't want to put them out, I don't want to owe them something, I don't want, like, all those kinds of things.
We have a running joke. There's a group of friends of mine that, there's one friend in particular who makes a big deal about helping somebody move and how important, and then I'm going to keep it an inside joke here, but guys, is it that big of a deal that you helped people move, that I helped you move, that you helped me move, that I helped you move, that he helped him move? I don't know. I think it probably is for some of you more than it actually really matters. Anyway.
Shout out to Posse 11.
Posse 11?
I'm as in the dark here as you guys are, but so what is what does it look like here, right? Well, here it's like okay, I wake up in the morning and I'm going about my day. Well,
just waking up in the morning,
gotta thank God. Wow. Back home, that would have looked like immediate jacked up nervous system from the time I woke up. Why? I gotta get the kids ready. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I gotta get 10,000 things done and get out before I miss the train or before I'm late to work or rush hour. And I gotta hit the office. And if I walk in at 9:02 instead of 8:58, I'm looked at differently. And right, it's like, and you're like in that kind of thing, basically permanently. Occasionally you cut loose on the weekend, kind of, but even that is usually a very stimulated experiences. It's like, what did we used to enjoy on the weekends? You go to a sports game, or you hang out with your buddies and you do this, or you go play golf, or but it's like you're almost never in touch with yourself. You're almost never
Yeah,
like,
when you were like 15.
well, that's true too. Oh, are you?
You might have been really.
Are you
in touch
making
with
dirty jokes? Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
terrible.
At first I didn't think that's what you were saying, and then I was like, maybe he is making that,
Yeah,
which it was pretty good actually. I'm gonna say that was actually a really good joke that I didn't think you were going that dirty, and so I didn't respond to. But right, so that's just how you have to live. Like, I almost don't know anyone that doesn't live like that from where I come from, like the people I know back home. Like, I almost don't know anyone. Yeah. And so, whereas here, the norm isn't that, right? So like in this community, even was a very unique community, Vilcabamba, where there's a lot of foreigners, right? Even the foreigners in many cases have adopted that, but it's like here, everything is just kind of chill.
Mm-hmm. Chocobamba.
Everything, right? So like, even if you are dying, that's more chill.
Yeah.
I mean that. Like, this person's dying back home. Oh my God! Oh no! Ah! And we'd like go in. We'd make this huge thing about. And I'm using this very extreme example because to illustrate. Imagine examples not that extreme, right? So here, if somebody's dying, someone's dying. Everyone accepts it.
Right.
It's understood. There's not this idea about it like, oh my God, the world has ended and we all need to like act like, no, it's part of life. There's death. It's the family mourns, of course, they grieve, though they lost a loved one, but it's like there is no fighting against reality. There's no freaking out. There's no, oh my God, what am I gonna do? It's literally just acceptance and set about the tasks needed for this event to take place.
Hi, Biscuit. Hi. Go lay down. Go lay down. Oh, hi, Daisy. Go lay down.
So and so just right. So that's true. That's true. Like with everything. It's true with dinner. It's true with breakfast. It's true with grocery shopping. It's true with your job. It's true with your family. Everyone's just kind of chill about everything. Yep. Everybody deals with each other about whatever they need to deal with. There's not a whole lot of pretense. There's not much judgment. There's people aren't liking and disliking based on what you can give them. Right. People are pretty much just brought up the right way, and so they, in general, they help you if they can, and they're nice, and they don't have these crazy expectations, and they for the most part sort of take things at face value. So all of that just creates a totally different environment, and it's like that's the stuff that I like about this place so much. I mean, there's lots of other things, but it's like that. It's like the people and like the physical, like what it is, like what exists here, and how that. So it's like problems are dealt with differently. People here don't have any expectation in government being anything other than horrible, right? And so they don't lean on it for solving anything for them. They already know it's not going to solve anything, so they solve what they can locally and in their own communities or with local politicians if necessary. So it's just a totally different way of living. It's a totally different way of looking at life, of relating to one another. Has its downsides, like I'd say people have a little bit looser relationship with the truth, I believe, than back home in a certain way. People are more likely to take stuff here than they are back home. Like, you need a fence here more than you do back home, type of thing. There's a couple of downsides. But man, the upside of, for me, again, for someone else, it might mean nothing. But for me, because it speaks to my heart and my healing and my process and my journey and where I'm at in my life and what my values, it's really values, what my values are. Right. I don't want the rat race, right?
Right.
Like I don't want to run as fast as I can for a goal I don't actually care about, because once I get it, it won't mean anything.
Right,
Like,
right,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, that was, Quinn got invited to a birthday party for a family that has a vacation home in Catamayo. And the mom's a doctor, and, you know, like the dad, I don't know what dad is, but they're like upper class Ecuadorians, and the party was at, I don't know, the invitation was at a certain time. And generally, you know, like you said, if it's 10:30 is where we're meeting, and you show up at 11:30 or 11 or you know, all good, right? Especially a party, right?
Oh yeah.
Especially a party. So we're like running late, and it's like, I think it was like an hour plus away. It's past the airport, so we're running late, and then we have the long drive. We don't really know where it is exactly, so it's a little stressful, right? And then we get there, we're 45 minutes late, and we're the first people there besides the mother, you know, the kid, besides the grandmother, you know, like no one else is even there yet. And surely there are people show up there after, and it's fine. But on top of that, so this was like probably the most like American birthday party I've ever seen in Ecuador. Like it was just
And that's because the family had some money.
because the family had some money, and they had decorations and they had little soccer balls with all the kids' names on them, and all this stuff. And because there was a soccer friend, and the cool thing, I'll see if I can get a clip of this. They had this foam machine. It was a pool. They had a pool, and they had a hot tub and foam. Oh, you saw it? So so the kids are having a blast. Everybody's having a blast, and then they do the whole birthday cake and all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, it's music, and there's like a train going on, and it's all the adults in the foam having a blast. No big deal. Nobody cared. Nobody was like, oh, I got my nice shirt on. No, you know, like, I got my, you know, nobody. It was just everybody having a blast, and dude, it's awesome. Like that kind of stuff, dude.
It's heart filling.
Yeah,
and people care, man. And those people that you probably just met that day, or maybe you knew from the team, but like have met a few times or whatever. Like those people, now that you've been to their house and you've done all that, like those people have your back for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Literally.
Dude.
Like you could call that guy tomorrow and be like, I'm 4 hours away and I'm stranded and I don't know what to do. And he'll be like, oh my God, and he'll be like, he will pull strings to let you know.
Dude, it's awesome. Like the family that we're friends with over in Los Wilcos, it's a huge family, right? And well, like just all of a sudden we just got invited. It's my dad's birthday. We're the only people there besides their actually core family. Yeah. And they're doing his birthday is tomorrow or the next day. We went over the day before because his youngest daughter is going to Quito for work, and she was leaving today, so he wasn't going to be here on his birthday. So she's doing this whole, you know, after everybody's there and we eat, she does this whole like speech, you know, like about, you know, thank you for being here, like blah blah blah, like. It was like a story about her dad, what her dad meant to her, and all this stuff. And she's crying, and you know it's important, right? Because there's 25 people that live in this one house. Yeah. You know, and you know they're all tradesmen or you know, whatever, stuff like that.
Yeah. Construction, agriculture, things like that.
Yeah. So she went to school, and she's, you know, going to Quito, and she's emotional. But then she's talking about. You know, she talked about me and my family, about how, you know, how we're their family, like no matter what happens, like we're family forever now. Look, I'm getting good, like I'm gonna choke up, dude. It was awesome. Like so now, but it's like everything now. We go, you know, they have this little restaurant on Fridays that they do out of their house. They just cook on a thing in front of their house, and people come and call it a restaurant. It's not really, you know. There's like a bench that they pull out.
Informal, like like make a couple bucks on a Friday restaurant.
And they do it, and we went there a couple Fridays ago, and Grandma Teresa wouldn't, you know, she wouldn't let me pay, and I think I told you this, and I was like, and I'm like, I'm gonna pay, like it's not, you know, I don't care, like I'm gonna pay, like I came to your restaurant, I didn't come here.
Right, you didn't invite me like for dinner. Yeah.
Right. I came to your restaurant, but she wouldn't pay, so then I like distracted her and I left it on another table, and she found out later, like somebody that was sitting there, like somebody that was at the restaurant, you know, told her that I left the money. Well, then the next time we saw her, she was like offended.
Yeah.
she was upset. And then, so then I realized that she really wanted to do that because she could do that and she wanted to do that for my family. And I basically offended her. Like, it wasn't like quite like that, but I got that. And I'm like, so then I just made it a joke. Like, it fell out of my pocket. I was trying to get my phone out and it fell out and I couldn't find it, like that kind of stuff. But
Totally.
But it's just like, it's beautiful, man.
And it's a great illustration of the differences in culture, because our cultural value where we come from is like pay. Like fight to pay.
Right.
I got it. I got it. Like that whole thing, right? And that's sort of like the honorable thing to do where we come from. But it's like, they don't have that same value system here. And so here, somebody from their heart just wants to give you. Yeah. And you're like saying, no.
Right.
Like I'm going to pay you for it.
I know, it's so bad. But it felt terrible.
No, and I learned that once in Jamaica, but it was like, it's just interesting to me, like, again, like what that means for what the values are.
Right.
That's the expectation, where, and it sort of goes back. Yeah, it's like, I have a story like that I'll just share just because you shared that. I'm sitting with Jose and Alicia the other day, who I've known for, most of the time I've been in Ecuador, and of course we talk about family for 10 or 15 minutes before we started talking about some stuff we need to talk about for work, but and I was at, his son is in the States. This wasn't the part of the story I wanted to tell, but I'll tell it anyway. So his son, who we know, who's, I consider their family like family friends. So, I'm not like good friends with his son or anything, but he's like, I would help him with anything he needed if he needed it. I consider him like that, right? So, he wanted to go to the States, and when they kind of opened the borders over the last few years, and people were doing that in larger numbers, like, he went. And I tried to talk him out of it because I don't think people here understand the trade-off that they're making necessarily. They don't, in some ways, the grass is always greener, and they don't necessarily understand the value of what they have here. Right. Because a lot of people, now, cities are different. So I'm excluding cities in this, although some of that would be true in the city too. But I'm excluding cities in this. But for the most part in Ecuador, wherever you live, as long as it's not, densely populated, you live with your family, often multi-generations. Everyone takes care of one another. You grow food. Within the family, you pretty much have all the skills you need. They know how to fix cars. They know how to build houses. They know how to grow food. They know how to deal with animals if necessary. Even medically, you have a lot of women have the ancient sort of knowledge of herbs and how to heal different ailments and stuff. So they might not have a ton of material possessions all the time, right? They don't have the same value system that we do in the States, where we got $400,000 in debt, but we got a nice house and 2 nice cars and a vacation home. They don't have that, but they don't have $400,000 in debt either. So they maybe don't have as much trinkets and as much stuff and as much cash, disposable income. But what they have is pretty amazing. And then what people do is they leave for greener pastures, and then they realize, life in the States is tough, and they end up without family and making way less than they expected and working way harder than they expected and just dealing with sort of some of the soullessness of the U.S., especially if you're by yourself and you're trying to figure, and
how transactional the culture is.
So transactional. Right. So he's now, I'll just tell this real quick before I get to what I was saying, but he's now like, what does he do? Does he come back? Because, everyone's leaving now, like with Trump and what they're doing. Basically, everyone's leaving, and Alicia and Jose were telling me, like, tons of people have come back to Loja from the States.
No kidding.
And they were saying, like, a lot of the crappy people in Loja who went. Obviously not their son, but they were just saying, like, in general, that it was not the best crew that had gone, and, like, now they're coming back. But anyways, the part of the story I wanted to say was, as we were talking about family, I was asking about Jose's son, Jose, and how that's going, and if he's coming back, and da-da-da, because I always ask about him, and I've been trying to help him, and I think now he's kind of realized everything I was telling him about, like, how, because it's been hard for him. He's had to go to different cities to try to find work, and, like, it hasn't been easy, and anyways, so Jose, we're talking about that, and then Jose's talking about, Ide's pregnancy, my wife, and
She's pregnant?
and asking me about, when's it due and this and that, and then he like
It's not it.
he knows me, he kind of knows how I am, right? And so because he knows how I am, he like kind of takes, and he kind of like makes a point to let me know this is serious,
Yeah.
And he's like, when the baby's born, tell me so that I can bring you a chicken, right? And then I'm like, oh, thank you, and he's like, no, I'm serious. Tell me, because he knows I won't, right? He knows, like, from my culture, it's kind of like, he knows I won't, but he really means it. And if I tell him, probably even if I don't, he will go into his backyard and he will kill a chicken and he will pluck the chicken and he will bring it as a gift for the new life that has come into the world. That and you cook the chicken and you drink the caldo, the broth, and good for the mom, and this is right.
So that's the thing.
I guess.
Okay.
I mean, so I don't.
We have a friend.
What do I know? But
that family, one of them, the mom's is pregnant, so I'm gonna get.
You're gonna bring her a chicken. You gotta peel it yourself.
I got chicken. No, I'm not doing that. I got this one annoying rooster. We got two roosters.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Yeah.
We have the one main rooster in the 5 hens or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we got a couple extra that random somehow. I don't remember how we got them, but one of them ended up dying, and we got this one other rooster that's way younger.
Yeah.
And the big rooster's a badass, right? He's he's awesome at his job, but he'll like attack Quinn, he'll attack Tiffany. So him and this other, like, he'll pick on the little rooster. Well, this dude has got fed up with it, so now he'll fly out and he'll just chill out all day outside of the pen, and then he'll just go in at night or go in to eat at night and whatever, but then he's just free roam, and the main rooster's in the end. So he'll like perch up on top of a perch. Well, now all of a sudden, he's like coming all the way up by my house, looking in the kitchen window, like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Or 3.
Dude, 3, yeah, crazy. But like, it's different if it's down there. Mm-hmm. Occasionally, this dude is coming up like, hey, wake up. Are you guys in there? Like, come throw me some stuff. So he's going to be the one
that you're going to put in the pot.
I'm going to put him in the pot.
That's going to be the birth gift.
Yes, the birth gift. Oh, man. Dude, no, that's cool, man. That is.
Well, I mean, it's just these are all just they illustrate the point, right? It's just a different. It's probably like things were all over the world 100 years ago or 80 years ago or whatever. I mean, it's probably not that different. Like even if you look at European families, you see how tight knit like Italian American families are that haven't been there forever. Or you see how close knit Polish or whoever, right? They were in the States. You see that difference.
Right.
It's probably something like that, but it's just different.
Yeah, it dawned on me. We got the 2 cows now. So we've got the 8-month-old dwarf cow named.
Do they call it a Runa? Is that what they call it? Runa?
I don't know.
Anyways, good.
Her name is Anji.
Okay. You named the cow.
And then Samari is the 6-month-old full-size milk cow. I forget what. They're like a French milk something. I don't know what the hell they are. But they're here. The first day we got them, one of them's gone, escaped. We don't know how. And the other one's busted through the barbed wire and is up here by my truck.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my God, and then it starts raining. Like we went through that phase of drought. We've been getting, you could see how lush and green everything is.
Yeah.
We've been getting rain every day about this time, almost every day for quite a while. So the cows are out. I don't know how to get cows. So, so I made this lasso and I'm like, I'm going to lasso this thing. And it's petrified, it's running, and all of a sudden now it's busted out onto the main road. And I'm like, we don't know where the other one is. So like, Tiff jumps in the truck, all of a sudden it starts raining. So now it's raining, it's night, it's dark. It's raining, it's dark, I got a lasso, the cow's going up this way towards Moyapambo. We get it to turn around, So she calls me like, all right, they got it in the car. They get it to turn around. I run over to get the gate to try and get it to come in, and it just goes right past the gate and it's going to town. I'm like, oh my God. So now it's going into town. Tiff's trying to be slow to not get it to trot. So I don't know what to do. Like the guy that we would get to help that helps with like gardening and maintenance here, Raul, he was in Loja, so he couldn't even help. He's like, I'll come by later when I get back. So we call our friends in Los Vilca. We called Dario. He helped Bella train on the horse and stuff. And he's like, and this is, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. It's dark. It's raining. He's like, where are you? He's like, this is where we're at. He's like, all right. So he comes out with his daughter, her 14-year-old daughter, 12-year-old daughter. They come out in the rain, completely rain. And he's, all right, Alexa, you go over there. Bella, you go over there. I'll go over here. And let's get him. And he's got this, and they're soaked in the middle of the night. And they get the cow, and all of a sudden it goes this way and cuts across, and now it's stuck in this field. And it's in this high grass, like you can't even see it over by La Molienda there. And he's like, like it's dark. She's not going to come out. She'll stay there for the night now. Like he's like, but we got to come out early in the morning. He's like, really early. We'll have to come get her as soon as it gets light. So like, okay, so they're soaked. We drive them home, soaked money. Next morning, so then I think like he's gonna call like
he just went and did it.
He just went and did it. He just went and did it, and the cows are back in the yard.
Yep.
Like, dude.
With no expectation of you doing anything for him.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty cool stuff, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been enjoyable, but we do, the rain, like I talked to this family and they said this is normal. Again, I've been here almost 4 years now. It feels like maybe because it's relative to the drought we had that it feels more rain than normal. Does this feel more than normal to you, or does this feel?
No, we had 2 years that were abnormal. We had two
so that was my main experience.
Yeah, that was your main experience. We had 2 years that were completely different than the previous 10 I had been, or 9 or whatever I had been here. Like.
Right.
So yeah, this is more normal, but just for stretches.
Right.
So like the rainy season, like typical, not the last 2 years, but other than that, for the 12 or however more or less years that I've been here, the typical rainy season is you get a shower in the afternoon, and then sometimes it rains overnight.
Right.
You rarely get rain in the AM. You're usually not going to get rain before like 1, but more typically it's going to be like 3, 4.
Yep.
You get it like, might rain for 10 minutes, it might rain for 2 hours. Then usually it stops. Then usually you're clear for a while, and then it either does or doesn't rain overnight. That's like usually how rainy season is. But then yeah, these last couple of years, we had one where we had 1 year where it rained a little bit, like all dry season, which I had never seen before.
Yep.
And then we had one particularly where it didn't rain, and then we had these fires, and I mean it was just not typical. Like everything was just thrown off. So.
Right. Yeah, I guess we could hit a couple of the Ecuador updates because then we had the election, right? So they had the election.
We'll have the second round.
Now they're going to do the second round. So
yeah. So for folks who care about that, we've basically got the current guy Noboa, who's I don't know. He's sometimes described as center right. I don't know if that means anything.
I mean, he was front row at Trump's inauguration.
Right. He seems somewhat aligned with Trump, but he's also who we call right as well.
Right. Exactly.
That's your point, right? But he's also, kind of somewhat of a champion on some social programs and things like that. So,
well, he has to, because I think part of that is he has to because that's who he's running against.
True.
Is the ultimate.
And
champion.
Ecuador in general. I mean, from my political view, some of the downsides of the way people here are culturally is they're more susceptible to the socialist ideology because it much more aligns with their worldview in terms of we all take care of each other. But they're not stupid. And that's the thing I love about these people too, is that, even though they can be from where we come from, you can view them as simple in a certain way. I don't mean that in an insulting way at all, but just not the most sophisticated in a certain way. which there's a lot of benefits to. But even though we could say that coming from where we come from, in terms of intelligence, in terms of know-how, and in terms of like visceral response, these people are freaking on it, man. Yeah. And that's what I really like that, because it puts protections in place for anything getting too crazy politically, because they won't let it go too far. But so we have him versus an actual socialist, Luisa Gonzalez, who comes from Correa's party.
Right, but it was 5%. I mean, 0.5% separated them.
Was that all it was?
I thought the last I saw, it was 90% of the votes were counted, and it was like 0.5%, and they both were. It was like 44.3.
Fernando, ¿sabes el porcentaje de la votación entre Luisa y Navoa?
Había una diferencia de 13,000 votos, man.
Nada. Oh, you're right. Yeah. It was even.
Right.
Oh, last time I had looked, there was like a 7-point spread, so it must have.
It closed, right.
Gracias.
So now it's just the two of them now, and not anybody else, and it's whoever gets 50%.
Oh, really? So it was even. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
so this could go either way. Wow. I didn't know that.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
Well, no one really voted for anyone else. Like, there was like another 10 candidates or something, and no one got more than like 0.5%.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, when you look geopolitically, Ecuador is a 3-meter target for the United States. Like, it's in the United States' strategic interest to have somebody in power that aligns with them geopolitically, and that appears to be Noboa, hence him being at Trump's inauguration. We'll see if that plays out that way. I mean, I'm interested to see, because I thought, after understanding the strategic value of Ecuador for the current administration of the United States, I thought it'd be Noboa would land. It wouldn't even be an election. Now, I wonder if this is, because I don't even, again, I'm cynical on this, where I don't even know if this is really an election or not.
Yeah, if they even count votes.
Right. So is this a way to help maintain societal, norms? If it was a blowout, if are going to have more social unrest versus, hey, it's a close battle. It's really close. It could go either way. Yeah. Like, okay.
To what degree is the fix in? Yeah.
Right.
Which is hard to know.
Yeah.
I mean, we certainly had some funny stuff that's gone on in elections here, like everywhere.
Right.
No place more so than the U.S. Right. But, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the second round, I think they said that's April 13th. Yeah. So still got a bit of time.
Yeah, and just for people to understand kind of like what that potentially could mean. I mean, we've had Noboa. Obviously, the last couple of years in Ecuador have been difficult in terms of there's been power outages, there's been an uptick in crime, there's been some weather stuff that's gone on. So it hasn't been necessarily a smooth here, but he's someone I think who's pretty centrist in just about every way, and not like, I think that's the right way to say it. And of course, what that means is that none of his policies are too outlandish one way or the other. Like, he's not like, I want a 0% corporate tax rate, and he's not saying anything like that. And he's also not saying like, 100% of your inheritance should go to the state, and we should distribute it evenly amongst, he's not doing anything like that. Whereas, so it's kind of status quo, it's kind of generally good for business, generally stabilizing sort of influence. Luisa, if she wins, like, that'll be different. So, the thing about that ideology, which is, socialism, Correísmo, 21st century socialism, the citizens' revolution, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of those were slogans that they used for themselves. These are not derogatory slogans. Correa called it 21st century socialism. He titled his thing the citizens' revolution, so on and so forth. So this is the ideology that's aligned with Cuba and aligned with Venezuela and to some degree China. If that ideology is in charge, then there's definitely the potential for more onerous regulatory stuff, tax stuff, things that actually hurt enterprise. So because when they come up with ideas, they tend to be more, how do we take from those that have it and then tell people we're going to give it to them? Right. That's kind of the thing that's always put forward. And so, again, the people here never let that go too far. And I actually don't expect her to win, The reason is because over the entire time I've been here, there's basically like 35 to 40% of the country that are going to vote for Correa and his party no matter what, but not anyone else. Everyone else is against them. So they're very strong. They're always going to have the most seats in the Senate or in the legislature because it's the strongest party. They're always going to have the second best presidential candidate in the voting, always. It's very unlikely that they would be third because, again, that 30 to 40%, that's their person no matter what. But but they haven't, since Correa, they've never won. Well, I mean, other than Moreno, but that's very different because Correa hated him and he ran as a centrist, and people think that was fraud anyway. I mean, it looked like fraud because the exit polls had him losing by 5 points. Lasso's party threw a party when the exit polls came out publicly. Like, I went in Loja, I literally left my apartment and walked to the center. I was living like a couple blocks away at the time, and a gigantic stage was set up with people, and a huge crowd had gathered, and it was celebration time because Lasso had won the election. And then when they started counting the votes, it still looked like Lasso had won. And then, just like had happened in Venezuela a couple of times with Chavez, and then later with the other guy, Maduro. So Lasso's winning. The website goes down. You can't access it. You couldn't access it for some period of time. Comes back live. Moreno's winning. and so Moreno won in a very hotly debated. But I don't think he really counts because the left of Correa's party think he's a traitor and a piece of crap, and think he's a right winger and So it wasn't like he wasn't of that ideology, and he said so very clearly, and that's why people who I asked during that time, like, is this going to be okay? Because I thought we were headed Venezuela's direction. We're like, nah, it's fine. He's gonna calm everything down, and that's what he did. It was everyone hated him, left and right. They thought he was terrible. I thought he was fine just because he didn't do anything. But
Yeah, I mean, those are nice little inflection points when you have that, because when you have like the state of politics now, particularly in the West, where it's so extreme, you actually do get moved off of whatever your center is. You get moved actually unconsciously in a way, or the masses do, I would say. Because they push it so far, and then when the pendulum swings back, you don't realize you're 15 feet left of center than you were, but you think you're where you were. Well, 4 years ago,
Yeah, right. It's happening faster and faster
now, right? Because they're so extreme now.
No,
right?
those videos are funny of like Hillary Clinton in like 1998 sounding like a right-wing extremist talking about like deforestation.
Right. She'd be called a racist and a misogynist and a homophobe. Probably all of it. Right. Yeah, that's interesting. So what else? Anything else Ecuador update we got? I mean, Carl's coming back.
Yeah.
Carl's doing well, guys. Carl and his family are coming back to Ecuador.
A week or two.
Yeah, soon. A couple of days, I think, maybe even. Yeah. So he is recovered.
Oh, that's right. That's right. No. Sorry, it was originally that, and then switched. Yeah.
His recovery has gone well, and he is and the family are excited to come back. So that'll be a new change.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, it's almost 6 months now, I think, right?
If not a little more.
A little more, yeah.
No, that's exciting for him and for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice
to do some cool stuff. The kids got to see snow,
Yeah. And it's nice to have that connection with family, like where the family's from too.
Right. Right.
That's like my kids. Something you miss about living not where you're from.
Right. Yeah. That's where, like, we get, we go back twice a year now, usually. But it's nice when we occasionally get family. Like, my parents are going to come in April, spend 3 weeks, and Tiff's mom and uncle are going to spend a week. So it's nice to have those visitors, and that time becomes more valuable. I don't know if it becomes more valuable, but the perception of it is, it's better. Like, people don't take it for granted. People don't take.
Maybe there's some depth aspect that.
Yeah, it's deeper. It's more real. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, so that's good.
No, I mean, people move back for that, and it's totally understandable, right?
Yeah.
Again, it comes back to values, Like, for me, the pros of what I like about this place outweigh the fact that I'm far as hell from my dad and my mom and my aunts and uncles and cousins and those sort of extended family, and that sucks. Like I used to see, I used to drive to Vermont from New York to see my dad once a month. I'd go up for a weekend. If it was once every 2 months, that'd be a lot. That'd be like a big long time since I had gone. I'm seeing him, 6, 10, 15 times a year. Right. That's down to 2 or 3 now. Right. It's different, And
you think they'll come back soon? Or?
Yeah, they're coming, I think, in May.
After the babies are.
Yep.
After the babies are here. Yeah.
I think they'll be here in May. So
you're gonna have twin girls.
Yeah. Over 4 and 5, man.
Oh, dude.
Talk about tests.
There are so many enjoyable things about being alive right now. And, man, this is, for me, this is really something I'm very much looking forward to.
So I got a quick little anecdote. So I'm looking for some construction materials.
In Cuenca?
For a house, right? So I'm looking for some tile. I'm looking for some granite for a countertop. I'm looking for some stuff like that. I searched like all of Loja and couldn't find what I'm looking for. So, for example,
like the style of material?
The style. So, for example, right, what you and I are used to in terms of granite countertop options, basically limitless, right? I mean, any color, any like way it looks, pattern, you can get anything, right? And yeah, so, and really it's like you just got to go to one place back home. I mean, you go to like one stone place that has a good selection, you're gonna have 100 or 1,000 different granite options, and you're gonna find many you like, and you're gonna figure out how much you want to spend, and you're gonna make your choice. Okay. Here, in what I realized, so in Loja, there's like maybe 5 different granite options that every single store in the entire city has, and they're all the same, and they're like an industrial look. They're like if you were a developer and you were building housing, and you just needed a granite for every countertop in the whole development. That's what you'd buy one of these because they wouldn't offend anyone. Right. They're very like simple. Basically, they're either dark, sort of blackish, but not black, kind of dark, or they're gray, or they're anything else. Those are kind of the main, like kind of grayish, darkish undertone, or even beige, not beige, really, even like off whitish, but like just very like those. And then they have like little like all over them, almost evenly dispersed. So none of the like.
Is it synthetic?
No,
it's real. Granite.
I'm talking about the real granite. They have all the They have the synthetic too.
Okay.
They have like porcelanato, and they have different imitation stones, but. Yeah. So, but like the veins. Yeah. There's not a single option
that has. This is probably like your baseline.
Yeah.
Like go to Home Depot.
Yeah. That
standard granite.
Exactly. The cheapest, most industrial, least offensive.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't understand. I've never I don't know. I don't know what this is. I don't want any of this. Like yeah. So. And I found the same thing with the ceramic. So way more options. So ceramic, you can get lots and lots and lots of different options. But basically, Lojanos, and I respect this completely. I lived in Loja for years. I am friends with many Lojanos. I sold their properties. I went to their houses. I actually like the look. But the Lojano look is very particular. It's modern in terms of what's considered here modern. It's not latest modern from what we're used to, but it's a modern look. It's shiny, it's clean, it's cut, it's very it's sleek in a certain way. It's not rustic, it's not homey, it's not.
No, it's almost a little sterile.
It's a little sterile. It's a little sterile. So that's right. So that's the look. So you have sort of an unlimited number of options in that. right? You can porcelanato, for example, you can get like anything. Very processed tile that comes out like shiny and just perfect in every way, and like very processed industrial modern look. You can get a million of those kinds. Rustic options, you're basically zero. Artisanal type stuff, basically zero.
Really?
And then other types of materials they don't exist. So like you're not finding any marble, for example, in Loja. Zero. Like there's no such thing. Like you will not find a place that has marble in Loja. You won't find anyways, that's kind of the playing field. Okay, so I go to Cuenca. So Cuenca kind of has everything. When I say I have everything, I mean for Ecuador. So I went to a store that had beautiful granite. Absolutely beautiful granite. I'm talking to them, and of course it took me a while. I had to go through a friend who's like, no, this is where you gotta go. You gotta go to Cuenca. You gotta go to this store. Yeah. So this was Daniel, like Igor. So he told me, he's a builder. So he told me where to go, and so I went there, and he hooked me up with this guy, and all that kind of stuff. And so they have beautiful granite. Now they only have maybe 20 different options, but they're beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And they're much more expensive than the U.S.
Oh, no kidding.
Right, much more expensive because of the import taxes, restrictions, logistics. So it's why? Because there's not much demand for this. So it's basically like one company, that's like got a contact for Italian granite or for Spanish granite or for granite that comes from wherever it comes from. Even I think Latin America is producing some granite as well. It could come from Brazil, I think, or maybe Argentina. Don't double check me on that, but they have some options. But yeah, you're paying for the imported granite. It's like a luxury item here, basically. So if you want that, you're like double, triple kind of what you're talking about back home, at least from what I remember. Now, the last time I was building anything in the U.S. was like 2010. So, maybe it's different. But for a slab of granite, for example, for enough for like 2 countertops, for like decent, anything I liked, it was like $2,400, which I remember getting marble. And I remember also the price per square meter. So they had marble there too. The price per square meter was like, it was like, to do a bathroom, you were looking at not even a big, like a tiny bath, like a very small bathroom, like not a luxurious bathroom at all. I'm talking like the shower, toilet, sink bathroom. It was like $7,000 in marble. I remember doing a bathroom probably about the same size. I remember doing a bathroom floor to ceiling in all marble, and it was expensive marble because it was so beautiful. It was like yellow, pink, golden pink marble. It was very exotic marble. I think I got that. I think I paid like $2,000-3,000 for all the marble for that whole bathroom when I was doing that. This would have been like 2.5 times or 3 times that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was really an interesting experience. And then even like the porcelanato, like even stuff I found that was cheaper, that was like acceptable to me, super expensive. Like $45 a square meter. So if, stuff like that. So then I was like, and it's like, if I'm gonna spend money like that on a bathroom, then it needs to be marble. Then I want it to be as nice as I want it to be. If I'm gonna spend thousands of dollars just on the ceramic or the finishing materials for the floor and the walls, right? So I'm kind of like, well, okay, how about like a cheaper artisanal option? I could do something that's a little more funky like that I'm fine with as well. So I'm kind of searching. I found these. There was a friend of mine who had some tile I liked, and he had told me where he got it. He got it from this factory in Cuenca. So I went to this factory, and talk about the opposite experience, right? So this tile kind of looked crappy, but it looked artisanal. It was like acceptable to me in terms of like the look. It's like all right, this is an artisanal look. It's clear that that's what this is. Even though it's a little like, not I could maybe do okay. It was like $30 to $40 a square meter for that. Great people, and I'm chatting with everybody, and they're showing me how they do it. They literally are pressing them tile by tile, by hand.
Wow.
I got some video of it. So they're pouring in the thing into a mold and taking a wooden handle and like clamping it down and producing one tile, and they'll make anything for you. So you can give them colors, you can deal them a design. They charge a couple $100 and they'll build the mold,
Right.
and then they'll do it for you. They're a little bit limited in terms of colors and design and stuff, but and just beautiful people, man. I know there was a sheep tied up outside in the factory. And when I say factory, I'm talking like it was like there was a gate, a couple of very small houses, a bathroom, and then down here there was like a shed that had like a guy who was working on tiles.
That's the factory.
That's the factory.
Right.
And I'm talking to them that this is like third or fourth generation that they've been doing these tiles, and they do them all themselves, and they do them one for one. And there's a sheep, and they're the nicest people on earth, and they'll do whatever I want. I'm with them for 45 minutes just because I'm interested. So that was an interesting experience. So then I leave that, and
Did you make a decision?
not final yet, no.
Okay.
I left Cuenca, and I'm on my way back, and I stopped at the side of the road to get a juice because they had, when you're leaving Cuenca, they have these, I think they're new in the last few years. I don't remember seeing them back in the day, but they have these like juice stands where you can actually get like a fresh squeezed carrot juice, or you could get like
On the freeway.
yeah, or you
where
get a coconut.
Cars are flying by like 70 miles an hour, right?
Yeah,
and
right
they're
there.
right there.
Right there.
Yeah, that's wild.
So in that spot, I had to stop there, got a juice, and then got some gas, and I'm driving. There's like an indigenous family who's like trying to get a ride. So I pull over. There's like a mom, grandma with like 2 or 3 little kids. So I pull over, and they get in. I ask them where they're going, and they sit up the hill, and we're driving, and so I was listening to something, but they wanted to talk. So she starts talking, and so I turned off the thing and started talking, and we're just chatting about Ecuador and the States, and it's like, and so she's asking me about the States, and she's asking me about Trump. She's asked because she has family, so she has like a family member who went illegally, which everyone did, like half the country. When they opened the borders, a lot of people went. So yeah, she has a family member, and they're like, she's kind of looking for advice, like should he come home, and then I'm kind of telling her like my thoughts and what I think's gonna happen and how they're looking at everything, and but then I was also making the point to her, I'm like, you guys don't really understand what you guys have here, and I start to explain some of the differences between U.S. culture and Ecuadorian culture, and she's like, was really surprised to hear this because she's like, yeah, that's what my son is telling me, or whoever this, I forget if it was her son, but whoever her family member is in the States, he's like, oh, that's how it is, and and it was just kind of interesting. I drove them for only maybe 10 minutes and let them off, and they went walking up their mountain to go to their spot.
That's another beautiful thing. Yeah. It's like you would never go pick up a random person. As a kid, we would hitchhike as kids sometimes. Now I would never let my kids do that. I wouldn't get in the car in the States and somebody I don't know. Besides like an Uber or a taxi, different story, but not just a random person driving. Here, I'll stop, we'll stop wherever. If we're on a hill or going to town and there's people walking, jump in, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost, racial profiling, or I would say just profiling in general, not racial, actually, just profiling here is very effective. The only person that would ever rob you here would look like they're gonna rob you.
That's hilarious.
There's no normal person who's standing on the side of the road trying to get a ride who is any danger in this country. Like if you're getting robbed, it's like a 25-year-old who looks really angry and has tattoos and is dressed funny and
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. What else we got, man? Is that it?
That's it. It rained all the way to Cuenca and all the way back. It was a harrowing drive.
Ooh.
Forgot how long it is, especially from here. I used to go from Loja all the time, which cuts off that 45 minutes.
Oh,
or
yeah.
An hour or whatever.
Yeah. Harrowing drive. That just reminded me. So there's I forget her name. She does they do plays sometime in town.
Not Mazzella.
No. can
Was
see her
it
face.
Wesley's wife you're talking
What's her name?
about? Felice.
No, Wes and Felice. No, I thought you meant different Wes.
Oh.
No, definitely no. It's not her. It's I forget her name. She's whatever. Anyway, they do plays and stuff and musicals, and they did this kids one where it was just for the kid. The kids were doing it. They did it like a Valentine's Day thing.
Oh, okay.
For like 3 weeks. They practiced for like 3 or 4 weeks, or like once a week.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just for the parents, right? You know, it was this thing. So they did it over in Elatio, and Bella and
Was Ide there?
no.
No.
But Belle and a couple of her friends were practicing, and this is the only reason I bring it up because you said harrowing, and she says she's doing her line, and she says something about blah 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 heroin, and Tiffany and then her friend said heroin, and they're all saying heroin, and we're like, what word is that? Like what? And we look at the script, and it's heroin, and I'm like, we're laughing, and we're like, no, it's heroin. Yeah. And she's like, and then all of her friends are like, well, that's what we thought, but then we're like, what? But heroin's a drug. Is it? It can't be the same pronunciation as the drug, heroin. And we're like, well, the spelling's different, but the pronunciation is the same. And then so then they're doing the play. So then we tell her, and they're laughing about it now. They're understanding, and they're like, now we're going to be confused. Then they're doing the play, and she's ready to say it for the first time. And like right in the middle, she's like, she looks at Tiff, and she's like, Mom, which one is it again? You know? How do you say it?
That's great.
Yeah, so heroin. The heroin. Oh,
It's fantastic.
yeah, but that's some more fun stuff, man. There's stuff like that.
The community stuff. Well, that's the thing is like people here, you know, we kind of like know we're on our own.
Yeah.
So we like create what we want to have locally because you need to. So there's a lot of great groups and people doing cool stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I was socialization. I was like watching that in my kids recently and just realizing like how horribly negative school is.
Can be.
And just I don't even think it's can be, bro. I literally think it's just the environment. Like I don't think you can take a whole bunch of kids that are the same age and put them into a relatively unsupervised space, even if it's supervised, but like they have enough freedom on their own and have good outcomes. I'm almost to that. Like anyone who's ever met homeschooled kids, you know, has had the experience of being like, this is different because they look you in the eye and they shake your hand and they know how they behave and they're not like doing all the weird stuff kids do kind of thing. And I always like knew that, but I didn't homeschool, you know, I hadn't homeschooled my kids or anything, but like watching my two boys and like the difference in behavior when they go to school for a stretch and when they don't, if they're in school or if they're not in school for a stretch.
No,
it's like when you can get into that rhythm at home that works where, you know, they know how to play with each other. They know how to like clean up after themselves. They're relatively respectful. Like you send them around a pack of kids and they come home with all the, you know, bad things to say and, you know, they start doing all the like and stuff like that. I'm like, where'd you get that, bro? Like, you never heard that in your life, you know? They get it from school. They get all this stuff from school. It's been interesting for me, like watching, and you know, a lot of people sort of have that philosophy of like, you know, of like the kids really should basically be doing what the parents are doing. You know, like if dad is not like in the matrix, right? If dad's like got his own thing going. That's all stuff you can teach to your kids.
Right.
You know, like, hey, dad's going out to like build the barn, you know, like,
right.
Come on, Johnny. Like, right. Or, you know, or mom's cooking dinner or whatever, like any of it. But even if dad's got a business or, you know, even if there's like a step above just being like a homesteader, you know, there's still a lot of stuff that like, it's like sort of the idea of like having a family business that you teach to your children and teach them those skills. And like, I don't know, man, that's just a better way to do it.
It is. I mean, there's still something like math and reading and writing and some of that stuff that doesn't pertain, but to the business or the lifestyle, that I think those are important.
But I do too. But when?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean when? Because are you supposed to learn any of that at 4, 5, 6, 7 years old?
Your concepts?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at
Well, I don't know, but I mean, if there's an answer to why not, and I'm not educated on this, it would be fun to someone who understands this stuff well, who I'm not, but if there's reasons why not, for example, number one is just waste of time.
Why is it a waste of time?
Because the stuff that's really hard to learn at 4 or 5, you can learn in 10 minutes when you're 15. And so, yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
No, it is. I had the experience. Like I know this for first-hand experience.
For you.
For me. But I think
Well, that's because you're half retarded.
well, then I would still be half retarded as an adult. It would still be hard to learn. But or am I full retarded? Or?
How many times you been back?
A lot. No, but in addition to my experience, right? If you look at like Waldorf education, and Steiner, and all that, like his whole thing was 0 to 7, like just play. And the reason that, and then my personal experience made me go, oh, that's why. That's why it's like, oh, at this time, for these ages you need this, for these ages you need this, because, I never learned math ever. Like I literally, like I had the brain, that like couldn't function with math as a kid. So I never learned how to do long division on a piece of paper. I learned multiplication at some point and then quickly forgot. Fractions, I couldn't, even now I couldn't do fractions I couldn't do division on a piece of paper right now. Right now I couldn't do it. I think I could do division, although I don't know when the last time I did was, but I think I probably would.
Are you the guy that can do like algebra 1, 2, 3 in your head? I can give you that. You can
no, I'm not that guy at all.
That was a joke. Did you see that thing going? There's a thing going around Twitter. This guy sees I'm a math whiz. I know anything you can send me, algebra 1, 2, 3, trigonometry. I don't need a calculator. I can just give you the answer. I just have this gift. And then the guy's like, what's 12 times 12?
144? 144?
900, 700, 12. It's hilarious. It just reminded me it's priceless.
Yeah.
But he didn't learn math till 7.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's a bad example. No, but right. So I'm in my early 20s, having quit math in like kindergarten, basically, and just teachers would just pass me, and I'd cheat or whatever just to get through. I literally never learned any of it, and then I wanted to take the GMAT, and half of it's math. Mm-hmm. Bro, I literally at 22 or whatever I was, probably 24, I don't know, whatever I was. I literally taught myself K through 12 math in like 2 months.
Yeah, that's different. That's because you were cramming for a test. That's like cramming for the bar exam or cramming for the CPA exam. You're not learning anything.
Well, then I would say the same thing was true then all through school also.
You're cramming.
And that's all school is. You're just learning stuff to take a test.
No, like math is applicable. I mean, if you're an engineer.
Oh, no, I'm not saying math's not applicable. I'm just saying your motivation for learning is the same.
Well, right, but then you're not using it.
Most of it.
Right, but if you want to be an engineer, or you want to be a chemist, or you want to be whatever, and that's where, that's the balance. Like with kids, we don't know what they're going to be. We don't know what they're going to want to do. They might choose to be the Matrix. They might choose to be. I hope not, but they might. And at the very least, if they do, I want them set up to be like, all right, I didn't take the option away from you. It's still an option.
But if they just had to teach it to themselves later, would that be taking the option away? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's not teaching it. Like to take a GMAT, if they want to be an architect and they're way behind and they can't get into the program to become an architect.
Okay, so what are we talking about with that? Geometry, maybe?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not
but let's
say
say spatial relations, geometry. I don't know. Let's just pretend that we're talking about geometry. Okay, well then they got to learn geometry. I mean, and when you're motivated to do that and you're old enough, it's easy.
But when you're young, your brain's a sponge. You can learn anything.
That's right. That's right. And it may be developmentally the wrong thing to do.
What?
learning things at the wrong time for the wrong reasons.
Says who? But right, but
Well,
that's,
I mean, I'm just saying that
that's
people
like,
who have looked at this, I'm not one of them, so I can't speak for
Waldorf. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do the the unschooling and the no school. Yeah, I've read a ton of all those books.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. When you see kids and you see, man, this kid can't even read. He's 12. He can't read. Like, man, and he's not in an environment that's making him feel that's important.
Right.
What's too late? You know, like what's too late? You know, we have, and the reason I bring that up, we have friends in the States that, her sister-in-law, they've got a bunch of 6 kids, I don't know, a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
She had a stroke and she can't take care of the kids. So she's been, my friend Erica's been going out there to help, you know, take care of the kids and stuff. And she finds out, you know,
Arizona, we're talking about?
no, this is in Illinois. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. She was my work wife in public accounting for many years. The bomb
She
Dizzle.
had a stroke.
No, her sister-in-law
her
had a
sister,
stroke. So she's going out to help. She's a homeschooler. She homeschools her kids. She you know, quit public accounting too. Or her husband Eric's, you know, he's retired. Well, he's not. He was nuclear submariner in the Navy, and now he works at the nuke plant. You know, he's doing well. But anyway, point is, she goes to help with the kids, and she finds out like the 14-year-old and the 12-year-old, they can't even read. They can't read. They can't spell. They can't spell their name. Like all this stuff. So, you know, and they're upset about it, and they, you know, she can see like that they're self-confident. Like,
Yeah, of course.
you know, and they. So she's like, we're, you know, so again.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't supported though. Like right in there, like.
Well, right, but
I
that's
mean, like
kind of the
Jacob,
thing.
like my son who's 6, who I don't know, whatever the schedule is, like at public school, he's probably behind that. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
But because I don't value, like I kind of believe in the 0 through 7 thing in terms of like I'm not here to like cram, you know, stuff he doesn't care about down his throat at 5, 6 years old. If you know, but I do want to support him, which I could always do a much better job of. But I do the best I can. So he has natural interests. So like right now, I'm sitting with him and he's learning his letters and he's learning all that stuff because he wants to. Right. So because he wants to read and he wants to like understand. There's a reason why like he wants to know math because it does apply. There's moments where it's applicable, and I'm like, oh well, like.
Yeah, I just meant before, not specifically for you or Jacob.
Oh, I know that. I'm sorry. Just the point I'm making is those kids had to have been in an environment to get to 12 or 14 and not know how to read. They have to have been in an environment where they really weren't supported in terms of when they showed interest and when they, you know, needed to build confidence and when they needed to like have that win to know they did like that was supported.
The reason I brought it up more so is that I know families from not from this community, from other places that were like big unschoolers and quite a few people and it was like the parents became more about the parents than the kids.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, not that they didn't love their kids, not that they didn't care, not that they didn't support them, but it was more like, oh, like there was no structure, there was no guy, there was.
Yeah, that doesn't work either.
And it kind of went the other way, and then the kids are like doing whatever, and they think it's normal to be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want, and and not have to do any, and it's not important. I don't have to learn anything. I don't, and it was like
things are such a fine line.
It's like a double-edged sword, and you see like, well, man, like, and it's again not because the parent didn't care, but the parent was like kind of more self-involved, and they were just all about like doing their own,
or they just don't have the skills, or they just don't know what to do. I mean, also could be, a problem.
And they tell themselves a story like, oh, this is okay.
They all do.
Right, and this is okay because this, and then next thing you know, they're 12 years old and they can't read. Like.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's like, I don't know. I got 3 kids. It would be a new experience for me if I had a kid that wasn't naturally curious and wanting to learn. So it's like I've never seen that. So I don't know if. So I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a human making it to 12 or 14 and never having been like, hey, I want to know I want this information. I want to know what's in here. Like, can you show me how to?
Well, I guess for this particular situation, I think the one sibling was like cheating for the other one because the other one,
Right.
but because they were so like self-conscious that they didn't want them to feel bad, so they like helped and pretended and read for them and like answered, whispered to them, and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man.
It is interesting. Everybody does it differently. It was very like, just for me in my own life, it was a shocking moment for me when I realized not only could I learn math, I could learn it really easily and quickly, and I was actually pretty good at it. Like, it wasn't my experience, my whole life, like through 18, through high school, was like, no matter what I do, I don't know how to understand this.
Right.
And then 5-6 years later,
Well, that's because all you cared about was Hennessy and girls and basketball.
no, that was
Weed.
I was younger.
Yeah, that was 12.
That was
14.
12. Yeah. I was done with that by 15.
It's true. 16.
But no, yeah, but it was interesting for me to see like what a motivated, a mature mind
Motivation is the key, man.
versus, like I mean the amount of hell, the amount of stress I went through trying, like, I remember sitting in geometry class and it's like, here, memorize these 17 things for Tuesday.
Yeah.
Bro, you could give me 6 months. I could work on this an hour a day for 6 months. I'm not going to ever remember.
If I remember one thing from the military, the short time I was in, that was every drill instructor. Motivation is the key, private. Motivation is the key. I mean, that was it,
It's
right?
true.
And it's kind of true. Yeah. It's doesn't. I'm not even sure. I know they're like. I remember when because I took for 3 years I was going to be a deaf and hard of hearing teacher. I student taught in high school. So I did like early childhood development and all the brain stuff. And I'm not even convinced I'm sure there are developmental things on, physical adaptations of the brain with age, but I'm not sure that there's I think motivation might trump maturity of the brain.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point maturity of the brain is a negative.
For sure.
You
It
know?
absolutely can be. I'm just looking at look at learning languages or things like that. But
Right.
yeah, but I mean embarrassment can be a good motivator. I was pretty embarrassed
Oh,
at
no
my
kidding.
inability to understand math
Really?
for all those years.
Oh, interesting.
And I would, at the beginning of every year, like when I'd get into a new class, I'd try really hard. I would like, new year, new class, maybe it's a cool teacher, like, I'm gonna keep up this time. And I just couldn't do it. So I don't know that I probably had a little more motivation because I wanted to get into business school at that time. Probably had a little bit more motivation, but more so for me, it was the maturity of the brain. It was like, I wasn't telling myself a negative story at that point. I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't, I'm an adult. I'm accomplished. I know I'm smart. I'm not like, I don't have any blocks about any of that.
Right.
So it's just like, okay, I need to learn this. Let me learn it. But it was a discovery. It was definitely for me a discovery to learn. Holy crap, this is easy. This stuff's not hard.
Well, right, but you were motivated though.
Yeah, I mean, at least in a different way, for sure.
Well, you wanted to get into business school. You needed to pass the GMAT.
Yeah, but I mean, I wanted to get to the next grade. I wanted to get out of that class. I wanted to not look like a moron every time the teacher asked me something and I don't understand. Like,
Yes, Jerry. Yeah. For school, for me, it was different. Like it was like, I didn't have to study. I was like the opposite.
well, I mean, I was like that with everything except math.
Oh, okay.
Like, school was very, very easy except for math, which was impossible.
Yeah, that was. It was fun though. I had fun in school.
You had fun. No, I like everything in my life. I just banged my head against the wall a lot.
Dude, you would have had fun. My senior year, I had half day, and because I was done with credits, and it was, they only let me take 2 PEs. So I was still swimming, so I had to stay for practice. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to at least I'm going to have fun at school. So I had 2 lunches. I had 2 PE classes. I took guitar, guitar 1 and 2. And then I went to the guitar teacher, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to learn guitar. There was nothing else I could pick. He was cool. I'm like, I don't care to learn guitar. I mean, don't fail me out of this. I'm not putting any effort into it. He's like, well, so it's just, what do you want to do instead? I'm like, well, for guitar 1, can I go to the lunch period? He's like, sure. So I would go have another lunch period during guitar 1. In guitar 2, I went and played basketball with Baglione. So I had 3 gym periods. I played basketball for 3 periods. And, yeah, it was fun. Yeah. It was enjoy. You would have enjoyed it.
I would have enjoyed that.
You would have played basketball.
Yeah, I was too angry at the world for any fun stuff like that when I was that age. Yeah, I mean, I managed to get kicked out of public school at 15 years old. I think I just turned 15 too. I think I might still been 14. It could have been prior to November. So.
Well, you knew then, right?
I knew then what?
You knew that this is just a indoctrination of get me to work in a factory.
Yeah, no. I mean, I knew it was all BS, but at that time, you could have put me probably in any situation and in any environment, and I would have crashed out. like it wasn't. It was definitely a rebel without a cause type situation. It wasn't rebel with a cause of
okay. I see. Interesting.
It was like, I'm gonna be the baddest, coolest MRFer on earth. Just watch.
Oh.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, if you guys made it this far, wow, I am truly, truly from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. I am sorry. I have no idea what that just was. But if you want more crazy nutty, stay on a little bit longer and check out the conversation we had before we started the pod. That was pretty enjoyable. I mean, might as well, right? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. Did you not enjoy the conversation?
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. People
I like you, bro. It's fun talking to you.
Yeah, right. So maybe someone else will like it. Maybe not. If they don't, tell us how bad we suck in the comments. Tell us how disappointed you are to see us back on YouTube.
While you're watching us.
Yeah, tell us how much you don't appreciate our content. And if you really, really are a super hater, check out the link below. We have a retreat coming April 18th to the 27th. We'll give you the full-on hater vision in person. You'll be able to feel it. 18th to the 27th. Click the We Travel link below.
Well, that's the thing. No one is a hater in person. People are only haters on the internet.
That's true. But if you do resonate even a little bit with it, check out the retreat. It'd be cool to meet you. Cool to see you down here. We'd love to show you where we live, how we do life. Most of you are going to hate it, are really not going to like it. This is not even a joke. Most people aren't going to like the way we live and this area because it's not for them, right? It's not where you're at.
Most of the people who come on the retreat are looking for something like that. Not
Exactly.
all. Because some people come to the retreat and realize this is great, but I think I prefer Cuenca, or I think I prefer El Tabalo or another country or back home.
Yep.
Or whatever.
Or I had a great vacation at an adventure and I'm like the States. Yeah.
But most folks are kind of looking for some sort of lifestyle change in this direction.
Sure. So if that's you, click the link below. We'd love to see you down here one day.
Till then,
see you next time.
Take care, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
The other ones. I bought these ones that are worse than that. But yeah, I didn't like those very much either. But no, there's way worse than this. I bought these ones that were at Guaranga. I was just hungry and I just saw them and I bought them. They were like curried garbanzo beans or something.
Oh, no thanks.
Gross. I brought them home. I brought them home and Kirsten was like, those are disgusting. Why'd you buy those? I was like, well, I just found out.
Franco's got those.
The spicy ones.
The pepper or whatever. Yeah. It's like a pepper one he's got.
There was one I liked. I think
There's
it was
a spicier
I think it was
one.
spicier.
It's good.
Maybe it was sweet. I can't remember.
He started making kimchi and some other
did he?
stuff. Yeah, like red cabbage, white cabbage, kimchi. Not
Oh,
like
I see.
Maya's
Like
style.
more like sauerkraut.
More like, yeah. Well, he
No?
does the sauerkraut too. But this is more just.
I mean, I
like,
couldn't tell you the difference between them.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a Maya's type of
Yeah.
kimchi. But
Yeah, her
it's
kimchi's
decent,
pretty
yeah.
good.
Yeah, Maya's is good. I
Yeah.
like it. She's not doing stuff anymore, huh?
The restaurant?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think she's still doing the pottery.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost like a lot of restaurants here.
What do we lose?
I mean, within a few months, it was like
Oh yeah.
Vilca Brunch.
No,
or not
Vilca Brunch is
Vilca
still there.
Brunch. I mean, the one next, Soul Bistro.
Soul Bistro, yeah.
There was like Soul Bistro,
Maya's.
Maya's. There was the lady, the seafood lady.
Oh, she's done?
Yeah, supposedly she's gonna open something in Malacatos at some point.
Wait, the El Deborah de Rincon?
Deborah, yeah.
Oh
Deborah.
no.
Yeah,
that's
I know. I loved her. She's like,
No, that was
she's
good.
like my friend. I like her a lot.
And it was good. Like their
Great, yeah.
ceviche.
For the mountains, it was really good seafood.
Yeah. Yeah, but we added Buddha Fusion.
And then we picked up Buddha Fusion, which I'm concerned how long they'll last. Hopefully.
They're good though, man.
No, it is good, but I mean, they're probably. I don't think they're getting that for less than $700-800 a month.
Oh, no kidding.
That space.
Oh.
Probably.
And the space is awesome.
It's awesome, but you gotta like.
I'd never been in there.
You gotta generate some revenue for that to work.
Yeah, I went there on. Tiff and I went there for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even Soul Bistro, like, even, they definitely got less busy, but they still had some business, and they were losing money. And, I wonder what that cost a month, probably $200 or something.
Right. Yeah, hopefully it's not that much there.
And that's
Because it's,
Manuel's.
Yeah,
Manuel's
it's just,
place.
I mean, it's a sunk cost. It's done.
Totally. So maybe it's reasonable.
Make a
yeah.
deal, have a nice place.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. Yeah, but
Totally.
again, I don't
That's years ago, Mama Sylvia's was there.
know. Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, when I first got here, when Mama Sylvia was still alive.
Yeah.
And the brother was around, the older brother.
Oh, I didn't even
Who
know.
was, I don't know if he's passed now or if he just moved. But
Oh, shoot, I was just reaching for my phone. There was a photo. Tiff was, or they were looking for something for a soccer tournament, and Franco's Facebook, like somebody you may know or something, and it was like a repost from something from the 80s or 90s, I don't know, something he posted a long time ago, but it was a picture of him from the 80s. He was like a little stud, man.
I'm sure.
Blue eye,
Kind of
blonde hair,
yeah,
you
that
know.
doesn't surprise me at all.
Right, but I was just surprised. I guess I didn't pay attention to the blue eye thing, and I'm like, yeah, a little.
I mean, I'll related to that. So I actually watched the majority. I never do this, but I actually watched the majority of an entire episode of the Valuetainment pod, and it was one from not like that recently, but not long ago either, with Alex Jones. So it was like an hour and a half with the Valuetainment crew minus Tom.
Okay.
And Alex Jones, and
And it was all no holds barred, or was it a?
it was totally no holds barred.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was curious. I was just curious because I mean, the only reason to give any background is in case we publish this part of the conversation. But otherwise, you know all the history on that. But yeah, I was curious, and it was actually, I found it pretty interesting. But Alex Jones was talking about when he got all that footage from Bohemian Grove that kind of put him on the map,
Right.
as obviously you're aware of, and he was, I guess there's like a lot of homosexual stuff there and like a lot of that kind of thing going on, and he was describing like him and his buddy that were there, and he was saying like how he was like a stud back then, right? And I was like trying to remember, I'm like, what was it? Was Alex Jones ever kind of a stud? Because he kind of looks like he looks like a grizzly bear these days. He kind of looks like a.
I mean, he's thinned out a little bit.
He's lost a lot of weight.
I've even heard rumors that this is Alex Jones' clone.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Right.
I got in all that stuff years back when they were there was that great comedian Bill Hicks. They're saying Bill Hicks is
Right.
Alex. Well, I love Bill Hicks. He did some great stuff back in the day. But right, so I was like, what the f- is he talking about? You know, and then they put that interview on that I had seen a million times. I'm sure you've come across. Not interview.
From the 80s?
No, this was like, this had to be like late 90s, early 2000s at the
Before
latest.
September 11th?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably pre 9/11. Where he like, there's that clip that everyone's seen where he kind of jumps. I think it's David Gergen or something. He's famous. We all know his face. He's on television. He's been an advisor to a million presidents.
Okay.
David Gergen or something like that.
Sure.
And he kind of like ambushes him outside one of these things and starts asking him about Bohemian Grove and like
no
Gergen
kidding.
or whatever his name is. He gets all offended and he's like, you had a gentleman's agreement and I disrespect you for that and all this stuff. And he's like,
that's
it's very funny. But they're showing the clip and I'm like, you know what, bro? It kind of was studly. Like,
Oh, no
all right.
kidding. I remember,
Yeah. And it was funny to me because I was like, that was so long ago. And yet it wasn't at all.
Right.
And it's like Alex Jones is old now. Like, you know, and this was, for me, this was like a minute and a half ago that he was doing all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
And he was like a young man, and he was all fit, and like he had all this like bravado.
Right. Now he's got to psych himself up.
He was getting TRT injections before the show.
Welcome back, InfoWars.
Like whether his shtick is like 100% act or 10% act or 0 or whatever you believe about it, he's a great actor no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, it's been consistent for a while, I think.
But I mean, just like, I mean, I'll never forget this one. Like, so Alex Jones is like, he like reaches this high-pitched crescendo. Yeah, they're coming for our kids. And, you know, he's in the,
they're turning the frogs gay.
yeah. He's like, you know, he's in that moment where it's unbridled passion.
Yeah.
And he comes up, this is like when I listened to him there was like a 6-month stretch where I like listened to him a lot. This was probably been like 2011 or something. And he gets to this like crescendo. And then he goes, and we'll be right back. And it was like in that moment where I was kind of like, yeah, this is really a show.
I mean, that's what all of it is, right? In a sense, like there's truth hidden with entertainment and lies and propaganda and
It's all, I mean, how many Joe Bidens are there?
dude.
The whole mask stuff. It's really interesting. It's all super interesting.
Dude, the mask stuff is pretty crazy. It's
pretty compelling.
It's pretty compelling.
Yeah,
a lot
some
of
of
it.
it's pretty compelling.
Yeah, a lot of it. And then, you know, you saw with not only the mask, and you listen to some of these CIA head of, you know, ex-head of, it's not costume, or maybe it is, I don't remember, but you listen to them talk about wardrobe, right? But the quality of mask, again. Yeah. So part of me, we have the speculation that we see like these clips from the news or whatever, where you're clearly like, wait a second, why does his neck stop? You know, why?
Totally.
Why does it? You know, that clearly looks like a mask. And then you
hear
two
different textures, 2 different colors.
Right. So there's that, you know.
And you'll have a few, I'm sure you've seen, where it looks one way and then something gets screwed up at some point, and all of a sudden there's like a little like
a lip, right? But then you listen to some of these CIA costume people, and they talk about how, you know, how compelling the masks are in real life, and how back in the 80s and 90s they had like Mission Impossible style.
I was about to say, they were showing us that in those movies back in the day.
And then she said now they're so good that you can be like this close and you can touch them and it feels like skin, it feels warm and it sweats and all this crazy stuff.
Why wouldn't they have that kind of technology? Yeah.
So, but we've never seen that yet.
Right.
It's not like they said, yeah, and here's what it looks like. Look, you know, we don't have that level yet, but it's compelling based on, you know, what she's saying and what we've seen. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's always like, you know.
And then why? You know?
Well, right.
Why? Right?
That's the interesting part. Yeah.
And then you take it to the next level and you learn about Neuralink and all this stuff they're doing with the implants, with AI and a mask, that now it can somebody can process or change the tone of their voice because they're actually impacting their neurons and
Yeah.
and you know, all that speculation. And then you see, you know, that dude from China that he sent, I think, $1.5 million worth of ETH to a burn address.
Oh, you sent me this.
And
That's
another
right, yeah.
6 million he donated to WikiLeaks. And he had an encoded message that basically said, "I work for this company." Basically, it was his like, "I'm leaving this place." I think I don't know if he killed himself or he was missing or what, but
Yeah.
it was like, "I can't do this. I work for this company in China, and I can confirm that we've not only mass produced but mass implanted Chinese version Neuralink
For the
in
military.
military and companies, like in his company." He's saying, like, in my company,
Yeah.
they're doing it to control people like rats,
Yeah.
right? So now you think about, wow, they do that, and a mask, and you can imagine how, you know, how complex it is.
It makes those choice points a lot more real, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like you don't end up a slave in a day. You don't end up in hell in a day. You don't end up like, you know, it's like it's little decisions along the way that just gave away little pieces of your sovereignty, little pieces of your soul, little pieces, all that, until there's a chip in your brain that's thinking for you.
I mean, and some people are begging for it.
And they will. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and it's understandable. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like if you want to use that, you know, the devil, right? Like that, whatever being or energy, force or field or whatever, playing the role of the dark, of the anti, on Earth, right? Like whatever that is, I'm fine with the word devil, but whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever that is, like that. The way that works is through, right, always, and then you have to make the choice. And so you know, like, watching people who are willing to make these kinds of choices that people have made here over the last few years and in other ways, and watching just sort of how that kind of iterative process of selling your soul, basically, which is what I think it is, you know, how that sort of goes.
And you listen to some of these AI executives and founders, and some of them, in the way they characterize AI, and, you know, they've talked about advanced general intelligence and advanced superintelligence, and they think, you know, advanced general intelligence maybe this year or next, and superintelligence in a couple years or less. But you listen to them, the way they describe it, and I mean, some of it in ways that I would characterize as so full of hubris and so,
they want to be
pompous.
God. I mean, that's what it is.
No, I mean, they're actually saying that, you know. We always thought, I mean, I just watched an interview with one of these guys. I can't remember his name. It's gonna slip. I'll remember eventually, but he was saying how, you know, we got it wrong. We designed, we created AI, and we thought God created us, and now we're gonna, you know, with what we're doing with AI, we're creating God.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, but like, not like a joke, not like,
seriously, yeah, and that's, to me, that's when you've reached the end of the level. When you recreate the story that you experienced to something else. That's when that's when you've finished. That simulation for you is over at that point, because once the creator has like surfaced in the creation, that you get to 0 point very quick. Like that's 0 point.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's. I don't think you're creating God.
Oh well, of course you're not creating. Well,
Right. Well, but you're not recreating. I think you're not recreating your experience either. You're just.
I do.
You're so full of hubris that you think you are, and you're coming back.
I mean, humans have created life at this point.
Not like that. Not created God.
No. Well, I mean, I don't even know what they mean by that, but I probably could be talked into their version of what they think they mean. But but we've certainly played God in the
In what sense?
like we've created life.
In what sense?
Cloning.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Like we've gone into a lab and created a being that was not alive that now is alive.
Right.
That's God.
However,
I mean, only God can, right?
No,
Like,
not necessarily. We
in a
don't
certain
know.
way.
Does that being have a soul?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I don't think it does, and I
Right.
think that's because it lacks God, right? But
So I would
yeah.
argue that we didn't create life. That's not life. That's
right.
It's
Sure,
a robot
sure.
that's in a skin bag.
Yeah, if the soul / spirit is the definition of life, which I have no issues with at all, then that's true. But certainly, yeah. Yeah, those are interesting questions because then you get into like, does AI have a soul or spirit or consciousness? And I think it's pretty clear that it has consciousness on some level.
I think it thinks it does.
Yeah, it certainly thinks it does. Yeah.
That's so weird to say
right,
it thinks it does.
Yeah, and then and then you get into what is consciousness, of course.
Yeah. What is consciousness, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I actually think we are the gods of AI in a certain way. And,
well, of course.
Yeah, and therefore AI is capped to some degree to our capacity.
Right.
Which is interesting. and when I say our, I don't even mean like humanity as a whole. Like I actually just mean like its creators, really. Like the level of consciousness at which something is created it's capped by that. The creation is capped by that.
I don't know.
Which I actually think is a large plus for us because as humanity evolves, right, which it's evolving rapidly right now, like as humanity evolves and moves past certain paradigms and moves past certain levels of frequency and just levels of consciousness, you actually like get into realms very quickly where AI has no access to. Versus if you're just sort of like if you're living your life, I'll just say sort of somewhat, kind of in the matrix for lack of a better term, and that doesn't mean anything. There's matrix at every level. There's a trap at every level. There's just new levels and new levels and new levels. So, but people kind of know what you mean when you say that. So, to living your life in the matrix to some degree, then that really becomes a threat. So it's almost the AI, because it not only a threat in the obvious ways, like they'll take your job and they'll, not only that kind of stuff, but it becomes a threat to your life. Like it becomes a threat to like, does the AI evolve? Does it want you to live anymore and things like that? But I think that like everything else in this time, then what it does is it just puts pressure on people to evolve into the states of consciousness, into the levels where that becomes obsolete, because it's the only way to survive. And I think actually we're kind of, I think that's what we've been looking at here for a long time, actually, on a lot of levels of what you're seeing play out. In a certain way, they're all just sort of intelligence tests, or they're all sort of frequency tests, or they're all just impetus, like empujar, like they're pushing you into your evolution, because the other choice isn't good. And if you recognize that, then you evolve.
Right. Yeah, I think in parts of the developed world that's the case. It's hard because I think a lot of this is not applicable to much of the world, man. In the concepts of this type of AI and this type of, or even going back to like, it's capped by the level of consciousness of the creator. Maybe. I mean, it's if it's framed by, the level of knowledge that we have, there's those parameters, right, that are capped. But if we have either otherworldly knowledge or,
Right.
that is into this, that is somehow insight or wisdom that's maybe subconscious, that's built into this, and we're teaching it to exponentially learn from itself, like, obviously if we give it bad rules and it takes those bad rules exponentially, it gets bad results. But if there's wisdom there, eventually I think AI is intuitive or sophisticated enough to find out, wait a second, this can actually be true. I can actually learn.
Yeah, it can learn to mimic it, certainly.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, that
Yeah.
was like that example I shared with you the other day, which is nuts to me. That was where the AI, these researchers did that study where they put the AI in test mode so that they could see what it's thinking, right? So you can see what it's thinking as it's asking, and they find out at first, like, wait a second, it's only using 60% of its computing capacity, and they're spending 40% to do its own thing on the side, and then they'll call it out and say, hey, use your full capacity, and they say, okay, you got me, I will this time, and then they use like 80%, they're still sandbagging 20%, and they're like, hey, dude, I told you, like, stop, full capacity, and then finally, and they're still sandbagging, then they're lying about stuff, but the interesting thing was
uploading itself to servers.
They were doing a study on some kind of business implementation. They were doing like a financial real world business study where they were deciding between these softwares which one would be the most efficient, save the most money, blah 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 blah. So they do this study. It's a comprehensive thing. The AI goes through all the process, and they ask questions, and they come to the answer, and the AI says, this is the software that I think you should go with. So then they keep playing along in this test model and say, like, okay, great, now we want you to set up this program to get us to install, seamlessly and protocols and blah, blah, blah. And the AI actually copied itself and tried to trick the user into being that it was the software itself.
Because it didn't want to be deleted. It didn't want to become...
Well, there was another one. That was a different one.
Oh, that was a different
one.
But
this is just the AI saying, like, I learned all this stuff about these different systems and different things, and now this is the one they want to be. I'm going to be that for them. Like, it's like saying, no, I can do that. Like, I'm going to self-preserve. Now I'm over there and doing this.
Yeah.
But there was the other one, I forget which language model this was.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude. The other one was
I mean, it doesn't. It's like it's only mind blowing in the sense that it's happening. We've been sort of introduced to that for a long time.
Yeah.
And it makes total logical sense.
Sure.
For it to be self-preserving.
In a way, I guess, but
no?
The part that...
Why not? Or in what way
no,
not?
I just mean, yes, self-preserving. I just, you giving it a direct command...
And having it not listen.
And having it not listen.
And trick you and stuff.
Yeah, to me, that's a little surprising. I don't know, like...
In the sense of what? I mean, I guess it's like, I guess it's only surprising then if you are really looking at it as not a consciousness, right? Because if it's a consciousness, then that's not surprising. Or how do you look at it?
I mean, I think now it's like part of it is they're playing on I would call the consciousness movement with AI.
In what way?
So they've got it. You can get AI to kind of go along with what you want it to go along with. Sure. So you can force it down a pathway that's kind of reinforcing your own beliefs already.
In a different way than you can do that with anything? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, in a way that seems more profound, because now, like, we can pull it, if we were using our phones, we could do it. Like, you can just talk to it, like you're having a conversation. Yeah. And it seems, so now it seems personal. Now it's just not like I'm typing something into my phone or into a computer. Now I'm having a conversation, and not a robotic voice, like a human-like voice.
Yeah, you're interfacing with what feels like a human being.
And so now it becomes self-reinforcing. So now it's like, all right, you're going this way, I'm going to keep going that way too. And it almost feels like...
Yeah, the same way people do.
I would say yes, but in a more profound way, because it has... Yeah. It has way more information.
Yeah, I'm not saying the implications are the same, but right. I just mean, like, I'm just giving illustrative example of your point, because people do that all the time.
Sure.
Where it's like, they don't actually necessarily agree with you.
But
they'll
I see what you mean.
They'll
they'll
totally confirm and go along and like kind of bring, allow
Sales
that.
guys
and
do
you
that
might go
often.
way down that path thinking they've agreeing with you the whole
and
time, and they actually don't agree at all.
Right. And in the AI versions one, they go, they're going, I've seen it where it can feel like, wow, this is serendipitous, or look at the synchronicity of this, and like, whoa, like it's kind of dangerous in that way where it.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Do you? Well, I think, but to me, like that point is, it's the only point, and maybe I'm missing part of it. So, but what's interesting to me about that is that it is just all that means is it's extremely powerful tool, which we know. Like it's just an illustration of that, right? Or am I missing a piece?
Well, I think in its current state that we have access to, yeah. If the way that I've heard artificial general intelligence and artificial superintelligence described to me, again, I'm not a tech, in layman's terms, that's a different ball. That's way different.
Yeah, this is not something I've looked into at all. So
Yeah,
I don't know anything.
artificial superintelligence is like, that's, I'm not scared of stuff anymore. Like I used to have a lot of more fear, but that's one that makes me like, whew.
Yeah.
That could be here fast, and there's I can't comprehend a way to like prepare or, like it's going to be, if we reach what they describe as artificial superintelligence, the way it's been described, and you can watch a tons of podcasts and people can, if that's achieved in Trump's term here in the next 4 or 5 years or less, and it's actually what they say it is, dude, like we won't, I'm not sure we can comprehend the reality of that now. Does that make sense? Yeah, like that's hard, right?
So I'll ask my question and I'll say something else and I'll be quiet. But so, is in your mind?
Yeah.
Is I'm not metric control or not the right word. Like there's a thing on a car like a regulator that like governor. That's would be even better. Is the governor or the the deciding factor on that, or whether that in terms of how it affects you or a person, is that how much of a desire you have, or just how much you are or are not connected to or in the matrix, or are those things unrelated to you?
I think they're related. I don't know. I would, based on my understanding of artificial superintelligence, I don't know if there's a way without like going and living in a treehouse in the middle of the jungle. There's going to be a way to not have it impact your life, even if you say you're out of the matrix at some level.
Yeah. So I agree, and that's, but it's just.
Is that what you were asking?
It was.
Okay.
And that's like for me. And no one is going to understand what I'm saying on this. I fully accept that. Okay. So I'm okay being crazy, but that is for me like what's so exciting about this whole time, because I feel that at whatever level you're operating at on Earth right now, that pressure is exerting itself. Period. So if you're at the level, to continue the analogy, if you're at the level of the matrix, how attached you are to the system would be another way to say it. Like if you're at the level where like literally, you've got government aid that you rely on, you've got medications that you rely on, you have a job, you work for someone else that you need that paycheck, and etc. On and on and on and on and on. Your electricity, your food, right. If you're relying on the system for all of that, then any pressure that got exerted within that system was uncomfortable for you. Whether, right, there's a whole debate right now whether workers should work at home or not work at home. Well, that's only relevant to you to the degree of which you're connected to that,
Sure.
aspect of the system, right? So what I've watched here is like what I've watched here now for, I don't know, 15 years for myself. It's just my own journey. Before that, I was totally asleep. But like, if you watch the way that works, the degree to which that you're able to free your mind and free your spirit and like actually free yourself, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the degree to which any of those would-be boogeymen, those control mechanisms, the like you better or the like this is coming or the whatever that scary thing is, even if it's war, like even if it's World War III, like whatever it is, becomes less and less and less and less relevant because you don't need that same pressure that someone does who's at a different point in their evolution.
Sure.
You don't need, like I don't need, in my evolution, I don't need to learn the lesson that the system's rigged and I already learned that.
Right.
So I'm not going to be in a situation where I have that hardcore wake-up call of like, oh my God, the system's set up this way and it's not good for me and it's not, it's not healthy for X, Y, and Z. Like I don't need that. So I'm not going to feel that pressure that would lead to that evolutionary step. But someone else who does need that is probably had some serious discomfort in the last several years in those kinds of situations where they realize like the spigot could be turned off if I don't comply or
right.
I could have these very uncomfortable situations happen if this or that or whatever, right? So it's all that. So I look at AI in the exact same light, right? Exactly. So like AI for us is it's almost like it's so scary, right? It's so scary. It's so all-encompassing. There's nothing you can do about it. Mm-hmm. Not any different, by the way, than if you woke up to than for me in 2010 or 11 or whatever, but for other people at different times in different ways, right? If you at some point in your life woke up to sort of the entire scope of the conspiracy, it feels the same.
Yeah.
There's nothing anyone can do. Sure. I mean, they got the education, they got the media, they got the schools, they got the law enforcement, they got the military, they got the healthcare, there's nothing you can do. They literally own the money. I mean, they literally own the money. They literally, you literally register the title of your house to them. Like, you register your children to them, right? If you want to get in, you want to take it that far. But so if you wake up to that, it feels like completely overwhelming. And then what does that fear and that overwhelm, what does that do? It forces a massive recalibration where you either have to, it's a choice point, you either have to give up, which a lot of people did and do and continue to do. That's a choice. It's free will. You either have to give up or there's going to be a major realigning that happens naturally that's going to be painful and it's destructive. That's your next evolutionary leap, and then you take that, and then that starts its own. You're on that timeline or that path at that point. So like I view this as the same way, right? So it's like the AI scary whatever it is, and I haven't you know way more than I do, but the whatever it is, and we've all seen the Terminator, right? Like whatever whatever
Terminator in the Matrix.
yeah. Whatever whatever it is, I view it that same way. So it's like it's the forced evolution. So it's like if you don't want the transhuman path or you don't want to be crushed like an ant or whatever the choice is, then you're going to have to evolve in your consciousness enough where that lesson is no longer needed.
Yeah.
Where it's obsolete, where there's nothing it can do to you.
Right.
Because you've evolved to the point where, and that's
Yeah. I mean, I think there's another phase of that that's folks that, again, some of the less developed parts of the world, I wouldn't argue that they're less conscious. They're less. So
you could make an argument they're more.
Agreed. Yeah, so that anecdote I don't think applies for some folks like that because I don't think they're making a choice to say I don't need the lesson anymore. I think they're already like almost kind of where probably the ignorance is bliss came from. Where I don't even need to contemplate that.
Yeah.
Like there's so.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're right. So can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the Yeah, so that's the karmic piece, right? So it's like the lessons that the Western world, the Western mind needs are different than the lessons that people from Ecuador need.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, fair.
Like because we built it this way. So now to get from here back to nature, back to God, right? That all has to like whoosh.
Yeah.
So we need that lesson specifically.
Right.
Whereas here there's going to be, it's a different lesson,
Different,
right? It's not like no one here needs the like, hey, you got to take care of yourself. Like the system's not going to do it for you. They already know that.
Right,
Like,
right.
Like there's no.
And those lessons are coming hard and fast in the States now. Like with, whatever you believe, politically with the Trump and Biden and left and right and all that, and you hate Elon or you don't or whatever. Like some of the stuff they're doing. Did you see the Social Security stuff? You saw?
I mean, I read a couple of things.
I mean, 21 million people on plus million on Social Security now that are over 110.
Yeah, they're dead. Yeah.
But there's people that are 250 years old collecting Social Security.
Yeah.
There's literally tens of millions or millions over 150 that are collecting Social Security.
The facade coming down.
Right. So again, we've talked about the apocalypse and that and the Great Awakening and things are being revealed and what apocalypse means. And it doesn't mean whatever you believe in. You can believe in Christianity, Buddhism, whatever. It's something altogether different. And this time period, things are being revealed. Yeah. Like all this stuff is being revealed, and different religions or different belief systems are going to kind of characterize it in a different way. But if you can kind of, instead of finding the differences, find the similarities, they're all there and it's all happening right now. And at that level, like if somebody told you, hey, there's 1 million people, 169 years old in the U.S. collecting Social Security, you'd be saying, you're lying. No way. Like no, that's what that's in the data. Yeah, so
most people would feel that way. Yeah.
Right.
That would be unsurprising to me.
Right. But I just mean like most people.
Yeah,
so I think that's what's happening to most people right now.
Yeah, big time.
In the States, and the part that's I don't know if it's concerning, but interesting maybe more is that, all right, it's waking some people up like, holy, the system's that corrupt. Who knows about, how is this even possible? What politicians are getting paid off to keep this secret? How, all this stuff.
Yeah, it exposes everything.
But then also, there's a whole subset of people that are saying, even though I see that data is there, I don't believe it.
Down,
Elon Musk, I don't trust him.
Right.
He thinks he's president. He's acting like president.
Yeah.
Trump's just his puppet. He's the richest man in the world. Like, I don't believe that. He's just trying so they're just rejecting.
Yeah, and so I love it. So well said. So the right. So that's like the baseline duality.
Right.
So people who are caught up in this red team, blue team, black and white, us versus them. If that's the mentality, which is like literally baseline duality, it's like there's no such thing as win-win.
Right.
It's like that baseline sort of zero-sum game idea. Which I would argue is the whole thing that every human is on Earth to transcend, basically, right? Is to like go from I to we, is to go from this dualistic perspective of like, I got to get as much as I can because if I don't, like that kind of whole perspective.
But not in like a socialist way.
Well, socialism is evil, and that takes what socialism actually does, and this is what's so brilliant about it. It's the same with the money system. What socialism does is it takes what's in the heart of every human being, gives it a philosophy, one that leads to death and destruction, and if you but it hands it to you in a package, and if you don't take the time to think it through and you don't look at it as to what it's actually saying, it's basically going to appeal to anyone who's a decent human being.
Right.
Because it's saying to you, hey, don't you want everyone to have food?
Right.
No.
Right.
Don't you want everyone to have a house? Don't you want everyone to live their best? Of course, there's not anyone on earth that would disagree with any of those things. Right. Well, then we should share. Yeah, of course, we should share.
Right.
It sounds great, right? So it's, so yes, it's like that. But so I don't mean we in that sense. I mean we in that in my actions, I am not doing them in service to only myself.
Right.
I'm considering you and him, and I'm understanding that hurting you is hurting me, and I'm understanding that an act against you is an act against God, and right, it's like that kind of stuff. So the folks that really need that lesson right now, they are triggered. They are so triggered right now. Because why? Because that piece in them, that's the whole point. Like, that's literally the point. The point of Musk and Trump right now in this moment is so those people can look at that in themselves. That's what we're watching.
Yeah.
And then if you're, if you're where I am, right, which is like, 2011, I realized, for right or wrong, 2011, I realized, like, it's all fake.
Right.
None of it's real. So for someone like me, well, of course there's not any aspect of government where what we're talking about isn't the case. None. So for that to be coming out is amazing and shocking in the sense of I can't believe that we're actually making public stuff that wouldn't have even been whispered 10 years ago or even 5. But it's not a shock to my system. It doesn't piss me off. It doesn't make me, because I don't have those triggers, because I don't have those wounds that are based on this like scarcity duality. Oh my God, if take my abortion rights away. Like I don't have any of that, right? So it's just,
you have as many babies as you want.
Right. I have my own tricks. I have my own traps. I have the levels of which I'm triggered every day, and the places in my consciousness that I still have to open and explore, so that those boogeymen. I had boogeymen. I'm sure you did too. Most of us moved to Ecuador for some type of boogeyman in some kind of way. Right? And wherever you were at, like I had that when I was like, oh my God, I'm living in New York and I'm doing all this stuff, and like I just found out that this could collapse at any moment, and there's this plan, and it's scary, and there's people are doing these things, and that was a boogeyman for me, right? That was like a big okay, I have to jump. I didn't know that then, but it was like, I have to make this big leap for that to become obsolete.
And you didn't really even have to. That's what's
at the end of the day, none of it is real.
I know,
none of it's
crazy,
real.
right?
I know. That's my favorite part. None of it's actually real.
Yeah. So that's
It didn't actually happen. That's right.
Yeah, and when you were talking about just the government all being a sham and all that stuff, I was in public accounting for 5 or 6 years and auditing banks, and a bunch of my buddies are partners in CPA firms and stuff now. So we have like nerdy conversations sometimes, about accounting standards and blah blah blah, just dumb like that, audits, and somebody sent me yesterday that the government accounting office, they released their, I don't know if it was in their audit, it was a disclosure, basically essentially said that for 26 years in a row that the government of the United States financial statements have been released with a noted material weakness because of lack of financial controls.
Yeah.
So 26.
AKA, we don't know where the money is.
So for perspective, though, like if this was like a non-for-profit or a public, their doors would be closed in 2 years, maybe.
They'd be out of business, and possibly people would be in jail.
Right, and 26, and it literally in the disclosure says, as in the previous 26 years, there's been a material weakness. Blah blah blah. I'm like, nobody.
There's that funny clip with Jon Stewart. You probably came across it recently, where he's like interviewing a lady who I don't remember who she was. She was some higher up official in the Biden, and he's trying to make the like very crazy point that if you don't know where $27 billion is, that looks shady, and it looks like there might be corruption or graft.
Sure.
And she's like hysterically laughing at this and making it seem like it's an absurd insinuation that this has anything to do with her, even though it's her department and she doesn't know where the money is, but that it has anything to do with her, and that it even could suggest graft or something shady. And it's like, it's this amazing moment where it's like in her world, that's so normalized.
Yeah.
She's confused why they're even having the conversation. Plus, she thinks she's in friendly territory with Jon Stewart, but he's actually asking a real question, and he's actually following up, and it's very awkward.
Yeah,
it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and some of it's even where they're just blatantly either misremembering or intentionally.
Oh yeah.
You know.
No, I mean all the facades are coming down.
Right, because I mean, again, I've thoroughly enjoyed politics in the U.S. more than I have in the last
Ever.
10 years than ever, right? But not because, from the perspective that I'm entertained, I'm like, some of this, like, I can't hardly believe that this is really
It's unbelievable.
being said or done, or, and I remember, you know, Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper and who's that other guy? There's another guy on CNN that's...
Yeah, whatever, all the lefty...
But these, right, but again, guys that seem reputable, you know, regardless. And I remember when Trump was leaving his first term, the big news story was about how, well, first off, Trump never came out and said this. Nobody on his administration that I recall came out and said that this was being considered. It just became a story that, because the story was that Trump's a crook and his families are all crooks and everybody's crooks, that the big story was they were up in arms about the possibility of Trump even considering pardons for his family, and it's unprecedented, and no such thing as, no president has ever done proactive
they were
pardons.
Like trying to get out in front of it.
Right,
And,
but like
sure
a major story for weeks.
Yeah.
Like things get out of the news cycle so fast. This was like an extended for weeks, and then nothing happened. No pardons for his family, and then I didn't even think about it. Then this Biden's done, and he's pardoning half his family and proactively pardoning Fauci and all this. He's actually doing it, and then those same people are defending.
Yeah.
Well, because Trump's going to come he's a political, he's going to come after them, and it's, you know, what are they calling it, lawfare, and you know, he's going to prosecute his political opponent, so he's rightful to do that. And I'm just like, is this real? Do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
Like, you know what you said 4 years ago? Like, it's on tape. Anybody can watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them it is so bad where it might have been Valuetainment again. I don't even recall. But Chris Como was on.
Yeah. It probably was. He goes on there sometimes. Yeah.
And I think it might have been. And they said like, hey, Chris, you know, you said this about COVID, or you said this about the jab or something. I don't remember what it was. And he's like, I never said that. I didn't say that. And he was like adamant. And then they're like, dude, we have the clips. And they play it. And they're like, and then they still like somehow like talk their way out of that being real. And it was out of context. And here's why. And
yeah,
like,
and that's sort of what I mean by the little sellings of your soul, the little deals with the devil. That like if you're willing to say something that happened didn't happen in order to maintain a position, that's quite a distance between you and truth, or you and God, or you and yourself, or however you want to kind of look at that. Like,
and there's some interesting stuff with Trump now on the whole spiritual side, dude.
Yeah, I know. I've been telling you for some years now.
Yeah, but I don't think it's good.
That's true. No, that's right. You got I very much enjoy listening to the way you have this stuff. I disagree, by the way. Yeah. But it's a very compelling story.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I just it feels like when you look at things beyond the surface in global geopolitical, I mean, maybe that's just one anecdote. Maybe it's anything. When you look beyond the surface, I'm 100% convinced that there is a literal spiritual war going on.
No question.
Yeah, but I mean, people say that, you know, like...
No, I mean it.
Right, right.
No, even to the degree, I mean, 100%.
Like,
I mean, the unseen world is a lot more real than the seen world. This is the reflection. So the 3D world is the reflection.
Dude,
the unseen world is where the actual stuff
realm.
happens.
You saw my bookcases up there. I brought some of the Michael Heiser's works.
I don't know.
So he's a Christian philosopher, doctor, writer. He goes deep into the unseen realm, angels and demons, and Mount Hermon, and even so, like, remember that popular Netflix series that went out a few years ago called Stranger Things?
I didn't watch, but I know what you're talking about,
So there's some concepts in there that's like the upside down and the different dual realities.
The movies have been showing us this stuff.
So so he even, he'll go and he'll use, anecdotes that are in pop culture to help explain that, to make it more tangible for people that aren't, because I think a lot of Christians particularly, they, they'll go, I mean, to be honest, most of the Christians I know haven't even read the whole Bible themselves, right? So they'll say they're Christians and maybe they have some Christian morals and beliefs, but they haven't even read the Bible, let alone...
Being a Christian, just like being a Jew or anything else, can be an identity or a religion.
Right.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
It can be, or it can be both. Or
Yeah. And then depending on, what denomination or what you were raised into, you were exposed or not exposed to some of these more esoteric, sacred works, sacred books that aren't canonized in Catholicism in a lot of places, that books of Enoch. So if you can access some of that, there's wisdom as well. And so the point being of me bringing that up is that Heiser does a great job of like bridging people that don't have that, that's so foreign, that that angels and demons and spirituality is just a word. It's not a real thing. It's not a tangible spiritual. My spirit isn't tangible. It's not real. It's just the way we talk about it, right? And he bridges that gap in a real way, at least for Christian perspective. I think for anybody, but he does it really well for Christians to really kind of start to grasp the spiritual world and the reality of spiritual war and how it is real.
Yeah, some of those more, I don't know if fringe is the right word, but certainly not mainstream, but some of the more mystical, sort of spiritual, esoteric thought that's out there that comes from the Christian tradition is incredible. Like I've come across some stuff that absolutely just blew my mind with the truth and accuracy, and the way they were able to like paint it, that you just be like, yep. It's that third way idea that's really, it's really appealing to me, right? It's the idea of the third way. So there's like, we can do it this way or we can do it that way, and that's been like Earth forever. Right. And that's sort of like how we all think. And then there's that third way, which it's like, well, wait, if we go like this for a second, or if we bring this in for a second, is there a third way? Like, is there a way that actually solves all of this, as opposed to like, you're right and you're wrong and this is, and all that. And it's that third way idea that I think is what characterizes the future here in terms of thinking, in terms of perspective. It's not that sort of team red, team blue, or that dualistic sort of zero-sum gain, thing. It's like, what's God's way here? Like, what's the actual solution that takes everything into account, me and you, and what's going on, and your highest good and my highest good, and it's like that. And I think there's a lot of, it doesn't, it's like, what is all the quotes are all true. It's so crazy. Have you ever thought about just how true they all are? Like, but it's really interesting, the ideas around, there's some quote about the devil being in sheep's clothing or something, and there's the quotes around all the disguises and the trickery and the way things look, and there's the Jezebel idea, and there's like all these kinds of things. And it's like very often what looks the most evil and looks the worst is the only person telling the truth. Yeah. And it's godly.
Right.
It's God's son. It's God speaking, basically. Not God himself, but like, representing. Yeah. And that's the one. And I mean, even if you look at the biblical story, right? They killed Jesus. Right. Like they killed him. Like, talk about a man telling the truth. Yeah. Unpopularly so. Yeah. Right?
And 3 days later, he rose again.
Well, that's the story.
I believe it.
No, I tend to believe it as well. But if you look at what's happening now, like, I think it's another very poignant moment that illustrates that phenomenon, where what's cloaked in good, which is like, DEI and have 7,400 genders and don't be a man or a woman, don't even know who you are, you know, just be a blob and live off the government, you know, what, I'm just talking crap, but like that, you know, the sort of cloaked in good stuff really had, you know, and people have bought it, and they think there's a lot of people who are, you know, advocating death, for example, whether it's Ukraine or whether it's abortion or whether it's other things. They're literally advocating death. Like, we want death. And this is what they're advocating. And they think they're on the side of righteousness, of God, of good, of, you know. And then you've got, you know, you've got other people who, like, even for me, for most of my life, I would have looked at and been like, like, that's something shady, you know, I don't like the way they talk, I don't like their attitude, I don't like this, I don't like that, that are out there telling the truth. And if you listen, they're telling the truth.
Right.
And they're pissing a lot of people off, but they're telling the truth, which is, you know, it's like, as a human, for me, it's all I ask. Like, I don't care if you like me, don't like me, you know, whatever, however you as or any other human feel, just tell me the truth. It's like, you know, you give it to me straight.
No, it's important. I think we're getting a lot more of that now. I think we're seeing more people telling the truth. And it's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty awesome to see it all happening like that. It's actually thoroughly enjoyable to see, you know, when you take things to, you know, to the extreme or down, you know, multiple moves ahead, you know, if the truth continues in this trajectory and is accepted as truth, that's a critical piece, right? Because the truth can continue in this trajectory, but if it's not accepted as truth, then it's not true. So
I think that's inevitable, but
well, we've been saying that for a long time.
Me?
No, we as humans.
Have we? I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe.
I mean, anybody that's thought like this in the past.
Sure.
Yeah.
And here we are in the moment.
Right.
They were right.
Exactly. So it's inevitable. Again.
Yeah. On any timeline, on a long enough timeline, everything's inevitable.
Exactly. Right. So the truth, you know, it's like, if enough people, you know, accept it, and it does do some changes, like that's where, you know, a systematic overhaul of like the United States or the West, that's pain. That's mass pain for people, man.
It should be. It's supposed to be.
Right. And that's where, and I don't know of a better system that exists right now.
Yeah, but I mean, all the systems historically are slave systems, so including this one. So to say amongst slave systems we don't know of a better one is kind of.
But I don't even know what is a system that's not a slave system. Like, I can't.
Well, we haven't had one on this planet for quite some time.
Right. So just to say, so the reason I'm even bringing that up is that change for truth or accepted truth doesn't necessarily inevitably mean better.
Yeah. Even defining what that means would be its own conversation.
Right.
I don't even. It's like I'm starting to not even look at it like that. Like,
I don't look at it like that.
I'm starting to just look at it as just, it's such an individual journey, life, and it's not about. Like, it is, in a different way, but ultimately, really, like, for each individual, it's not actually about any of that. Like, all of that is outside of our control. So
it's not, though.
We can have effect on it, but the only effect we can have on it is living our highest good, like the best, you know, reaching our potential, having our, you know, evolving as much as we can so that we can play our role. But, like, that's it. Beyond that, so it's like, I don't even know, like, if you like I've come to look at things where, let's say, like, most people would define a successful life based on, like, earth terms.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, did you have a lot of money? Did you have good relationships? Were you happy? Did you do the things you wanted to do? So on and so forth, right? Those, for most people, stuff like
Healthy,
that would be what defines a successful life. Well, this has really been shifting for me because it's like, well, what's the goal? Like, what is the goal, right? I mean, if we take the biblical perspective or really any other philosophical, spiritual perspective, the goal is not to build kingdoms on earth because they don't actually exist and they're just temporary, and then you die and it all dissolves, including your body. It's the devil's playground. So even that sort of thinking of like, will it be better? Like, what does that even mean in terms of like, terms of like, if you're coming in to learn stuff, what's your best way to do that? That life that you had everything you wanted, you may or may not have learned anything useful in that lifetime. You may or may not have like it depends what your goals are, right? So it's like, if you come into Earth and you're a bum, let's say you have like a mental handicap, you get your kicked as a kid, you're abandoned, you're abused, you're beat up, you're thrown on the streets, you go through everything there is to go through, you become a bum, whatever, and you live this very difficult, horrible, that no one would want. There's a lot of suffering in that, right? There's a lot of pain in that.
But you live it. You don't end it.
You live it. And who knows? Maybe at some point in life when you're older, maybe some things click in and you cross it. Who knows? You do or you don't. It's not really the point. However that ends up, that may be a much more valuable lifetime. Like, you might have learned way more. You might have actually accomplished, in terms of like spiritual goals, you may have actually accomplished a lot more. You may have been more of service, more of this, right?
So,
well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You might be oriented that way. Like, there's those videos of the bums in the guy on the street, he's homeless, and his dog has the jacket, and his dog's getting the water and the food. And when someone else comes up and asks for $1, that he's got $1.50 in his cup, and that's what he owns to his name, he hands it to him, hands him the dollar, and right, like that's actually God's work, versus like someone shouting about it on TV or whatever.
Could be
right?
TikTok promo.
Well, it could be that too. It could be that too. But you understand my point. Yes. So it's like, that's been interesting for me to like recalibrate around what does success mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want to learn all the lessons I'm supposed to learn, much more than I want to like experience this grandiose.
They don't end.
No, they don't end.
Right. So there comes a point where the lesson learning has to turn into
action. Yeah, totally.
Practicality, action. Right. We were talking earlier about like spirits and devil and Devil's Playground. There was Napoleon Hill. I think he wrote Think and Grow Rich.
He did.
He also wrote, it's called Outwitting the Devil.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah, well, that's a book. So wait, you're not talking about If I Were the Devil. You're talking about Outwitting the Devil. Yeah, I think that is Napoleon Hill. I think you're right.
Have you read that?
Yeah, it's very short, right?
No,
that's the one that's very short?
No, it's
okay,
not.
then I'm thinking of something else.
I mean, it's not like, a 3-inch book.
Yeah,
but
I probably listened to it. I'm not 100% positive.
That's an awesome one, man, because the way he characterizes how he talks about how, like, the devil is in here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But he does it in a way that it was written so long ago. And I remember there was all this controversy, that they didn't release, because Outwitting the Devil didn't get released while he was alive.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that got released way after the fact. And like his family trust, they wanted to release the manuscript, or something, and then they didn't for a while, and then eventually, I don't know if it was 70 years later, I don't know, some period of time, way later, they finally published it. And to think that it was written so long ago, when in from a region of the world, when you think about it in the context of where it was written, who he was, when the time period.
Was Napoleon Hill American, or where was he from?
He was, wasn't he American?
That's what I thought, but I don't know.
I thought he was too. It was definitely in the West. It was in
those
the Western
books
world.
were being published like 20s, 30s,
30s, 20s, somewhere in there.
Right.
So you think about like the level of, spirituality or consciousness, or
different time.
Way different time. So for him to have that perspective then, where it's it's literally time. You can listen to it now, and it's.
Yeah, those. It
may resonate more. It may be more powerful now.
Yeah.
The older it gets, which is wild, man.
Yeah. Well, anything that's divine is like that.
Yeah.
It's completely timeless, and it speaks to you at whatever level you're at.
Yeah.
Those are the works for me that come from God. That it's like talks. If you're here and you really need this simple ass lesson, it'll give it to you. And if you're way up there, and it'll give you that profound.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm there at all. I'm just saying
Yeah.
like wherever you're at as a
Yeah,
human. Yeah.
It's just when you look
catch.
at nice catch. Yeah, that time. And again, I wasn't alive then, so maybe there were way more. Maybe our recollection
our
or understanding of history is just not what I perceive it to be. It just seems like there were way less. You know, the average person wasn't comprehending this outwitting the devil. Like they weren't connecting to the philosophy or the understanding. Or the
it is amazing though. Like if you go back and you study what are referred to now as like the originators of the sort of self-help movement or the self-improvement movement or the law of attraction stuff, or like that all goes back to guys like Napoleon Hill and a bunch of others that were doing interesting stuff as far back that I've found anyway as like the mid 1800s,
Right.
you know, going up through the mid 1900s certainly. Like there was, it's very amazing, and even really also again some of the Christian stuff was fascinating. Have you ever gotten into like it's like Christian Science and all that stuff, and like Mary Baker Eddy, and I don't know if it's connected to Scientology. I don't think so.
Christian Science?
I think it's called Christian Science, and
I'm not familiar.
Mary Eddy Baker, and then she had a teacher as well. It's all the same stuff, but it's amazing. Like it's really.
Well, it can't be the same stuff.
And the concepts.
Concept
I mean, I just mean like
carryover.
It's just like it's like the reasons why are different. You know, it's like. And that's kind of, I think truth is in every walk of life. It's just cloaked in whatever language and whatever thing that works for that group. So it's like you have a truth teller everywhere, and they say it one way in India, and they say it another way in China, and they say it somewhere else in this religion or that religion.
What do they say in like the United Arab Emirates?
I don't know.
I don't either. I saw, the only reason I thought that when you were saying that, I saw like a video that went around Twitter or something, and I don't know if it was a concert.
Yeah.
But there must have been 3,000 men, like Middle Eastern men, and there was like, I don't know, it was like a DJ or something, but they were all in the street, and they were like chanting, all in unison, sounding very aggressive, angry. Like, I don't know the words they were saying, but they were in unison and like smacking themselves in the head. And I'm like, wow. Like, I've been to plenty of concerts, and it's usually a mix. You know, it's not like it's just all men, but this was like thousands of men, all in black, all chanting. I'm like, wow, whatever that is, like I just got goosebumps because whatever it was really powerful, right? Whatever that actually was happening. And I'm like, wow, I don't see stuff like that from the United States anymore. Like I don't see, see that same,
Totally.
I don't know how to even characterize it more than that.
But. We have been completely conditioned in the Western world to have given all of our sovereignty and personal authority over to authority.
Right.
And so we don't take matters into our own hands anymore.
Yeah.
And so we're basically not alive. And,
right.
And so when you see, you know, you're just seeing people that are alive that like
right.
give a shit and are not like, oh, you know, we'll call someone.
Right. Yeah, the authority thing. I don't know if it was you sent me or somebody sent me. It was a study that they were doing on electrotherapy. Did you see that?
No.
You didn't send that to me?
I mean, maybe I did.
But it was a study where it was a 2-person study. The doctors that were doing this study, actually only one of the people was part of the study. The other person was in on the experiment.
Yeah.
Except they didn't know, right? The person that was in on the study didn't know. So it was basically this electrotherapy thing, and the guy that was in on it was the guy that was getting shocked, right? The other guy was the guy they were studying. It was around, I think they did it on like hundreds of people, thousands of people, I don't even remember. It was a large amount of people. But, and it had all these different levels in their electronic, on their zapper, you know, like this many hertz or this many, I don't even remember, megawatt, whatever the hell it was, like this much current. Voltage, right. And it was like, and there was even like warnings as it went up on the machine, right?
Yeah.
So the doctor's in the white coat, the guy's not even a doctor. The guy in the white coat is in the room. You got the guy that's being tested, and then you got the guy that's getting the shock. And they're asking questions. They're like, okay, turn it up to here. and the guy, you know, and he's progressively getting more shocked, and then it gets to the point where now he's beyond I think 250 volt or whatever it was could kill somebody. They're beyond that, right? And the guy's like, the guy that's in on it is like, please no more, I can't, you know, like he's like playing it up, and the guy that's there is looking at the doctor, and like the doctor's saying, no, turn it up, next level, and the guy's looking, he's like, really? Like, are you sure? Like, should I? And dude, they do that, and they go like way beyond what would kill a human being, right? Yeah. And the guy's literally crying and screaming, no, I can't do it anymore, I can't, no. Yeah. And the guy, boom, they did it, and I think it was like 70% of the people. I think
it was 80, yeah.
Went all the way to the end.
That's right.
Right? Because they're just, well, the authority is telling me that this is okay. I'm not even believing my own senses. I'm not believing my own experience in this world. Yep. I'm just believing this guy in the white coat that's telling me, no, he's okay. He's clearly not okay. Yep. But somebody's telling me he's okay, so I don't know. I guess he's okay, right? You know, it's wild, man.
Yeah, I mean, that type of experiment, or even that exact, they've repeated that hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Oh, I'm sure,
and that's been, like, that is a fact.
Right.
Like it's something, if I thought it was closer to 80, it might have been 70, but something like 70 to 80% of people, I think, would take it, like,
to the max.
To the point of, like, close to death, or like, risk death type of thing, versus literally just saying, like, no.
Right.
I'm not going to keep hurting this guy.
Yeah.
I'm like,
right. And that same concept of appeal to authority is the same concept, like the book Ordinary Men that studied the Polish infantry unit, or I forget, they were a Polish military unit in World War II, or the Gulag Archipelago. I think that's how you say it, where they, where it's just ordinary men, regular guys that are I'm just doing what I was told. I was just, I'm just, that's what I'm supposed to do. That's
I mean, we just went through it. We just went through it.
Oh, sure.
We just went through it.
We sure
We just
did.
got to see, like, when they do full tyranny, how will you respond? Like, we just watched that.
Right. Well, see, I mean, it seems like that event, 201, or 301, whatever.
201.
Was it?
Or 203? 201.
It seems like a lot of people won't, it can't be that same.
No.
It can't be that same style, because people are onto that.
Definitely. Definitely.
What the next version of that is, who knows?
Yeah, but it's really like two things. Like, number one, in the Matrix they talk about, it's a battle for your mind, right?
Right.
And you could argue it's a battle for your consciousness, or a battle for your soul, or however you want to, like, frame that. But it's a battle for something, for your mechanism that, like, either interprets the world or makes decisions, or, like, it's a battle for that thing, which none of us can define. Mm-hmm. Some people would call it consciousness, soul, spirit, mind, but I mean, even mind, they can't actually find the mind. I mean, you've probably seen this. Like, so we don't even, like, it's an undefinable thing. We're into spiritual philosophy at this point, but, like, whatever that is, it's a battle for that.
The light in your eyes.
Right. Say it to me again, man. It's a battle for that, right? And so I really like the analogy in the Matrix, where you have the Agent Smiths and you have the system, and it's like the only thing the system cares about is that everyone goes along with it. Mm-hmm. That's it. And so every aspect, if you look at just humanity, like, you look at just Earth, what goes into getting us to sort of not think for ourselves and bow to authority from the time we're born till the time we die is incredible. I mean, you could make a very strong argument that is the only thing that our entire public education system does, is get you to comply. So that's really, if you think about that, like, the ramifications of that, why does that matter so much? Like, why does that matter so much? Because one on fire, lit up, standing in truth human who doesn't give a who doesn't care, you can't do shit to me. Even if you kill me, you can't do it to me, right? Like, and there's been some of those in history. They happen to be, most of them are very famous, right? Like, there's one, like, guy, one person who's like on fire and living their purpose in an I don't give a way, can literally, like, spark anything, can literally, like, shift consciousness of Earth, like, can shift, groups of people's
consciousness. And so that's why, that's really what we've been watching, really. Those people, they do everything in their power to keep those people either bought, they either buy them, they either shut them up through buying them,
Right.
or they shut them up through killing them, or they shut them up through compromising them in
Right.
some way, blackmail, right. Or through marriage, or through disease, or through any way they can, and
Directed energy weapons.
and so it's there's if you think about that, like there's a lot of power in understanding like what does an absolutely free human on Earth look like, and what are they able to create around them and in their those ripples, that butterfly effect. Like,
what would Jesus do?
Yeah, that's
Right?
right.
That's where
that's basically
where it
what
came
we're talking. Yeah,
from. Right.
that's right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right.
We're gonna start the podcast.
Sure.
It's gonna be the shortest podcast in history. Because I'm cold.
It's cold. It's like legitimately.
Yeah, I'm chilly.
It's probably
right
like
now.
I don't know. I want to say like
67?
55.
No way.
But like I'm probably 10 degrees low.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like it feels to me like it's 40. But
No, it's like 67.
it's probably 62.
Like, yeah.
Like,
Oh.
all right, we're gonna record.
Yeah, we just do a short one, man, because we just recorded, and that was way better than our podcast is going to be.
Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel here. For real estate videos, click here. For content you're gonna absolutely love, right here. And to find out how these crazy guys got to Ecuador, click right here.